T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
Well. You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Been saying this for a while, but I have so many reasons to back it up. And guess what? This episode is for sure one of them, because I am live and direct with two of my biggest monitor, reptile, everything mentor when it comes to animals. I'm sitting two of my biggest ones right here, Brian Barczyk and Bruce Saunders of the Reptarium. What's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
What's
What's
up,
going
brother?
on, dude?
Fresh from Tinley.
Fresh from Tinley, man.
You
Yeah,
know-
it was a great time. I enjoyed myself there.
This is the norm.
yeah.
Oh, Good one, Brian.
He was the shadow and the fly on the wall.
I went there. I was dressed up as the old guy. I had a bald cap on and I had a big white beard.
Oh man,
No one came up to me even once. It was
I thought you were dressed up like that go-go dancer that was walking around. Man,
No,
totally
Brian,
thought that was you.
you know damn well I've been asking you. I mean, when are you going to go to a show again?
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't say you'll never be at one. It's just
No, actually, I was going to go to this one, to be honest with you, but I probably would have gone, but Lori had the dates wrong, so she had me scheduled off for last weekend.
right.
She thought Tinley was last weekend, so she literally scheduled off my Saturday so that I could go to Tinley on Saturday. And then we found out that it was next weekend, not this weekend. It was just because the problem is with running the zoo is that we're crushed on the weekends. I mean, just like
Right.
and it's hard for me to if I have people flying in from Arizona to do a Brian tour at the Reptarium, I can't really call them and be like, oh, sorry, you can't come, or what, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, so I have obligations. So unfortunately, and we actually even we do like VIP podcast guests and stuff like
Right.
that. So we had I had some tours I had to do this weekend. And as a matter of fact, Bruce and Jessica had a tour this weekend as well. They left right after the tour
So
to go
still made it.
directly to Tinley. But I had a VIP podcast guest. So the whole weekend I was booked. There was no way I could get off. So if we wouldn't have got it messed up, I would have probably went to Tinley.
Right.
So I might go again. I don't want to make any promises because life is crazy, but I might go in October.
So I mean, it's not like you're against shows. You're just
No.
a busy guy.
I'm just too busy. Yeah,
Right.
I'm just too busy, and it's hard to walk away from something that I'm super happy with. I love being
Right.
here. To go to. There's really, other than hanging out, which I love hanging out and meeting people and stuff like that. But other than that, there's no advantages me to go to the show, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not
That's true.
getting anything out of it,
Right.
and I'm not going to film a show like a normal show because I always say, back, in Snake Bites days or whatever, I was the only guy running around with a camera filming the show. So I was doing, now there's 100 people filming the show. So why am I going to film the show that 100 other people film? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And it's kind of repetitive.
it's just too repetitive,
Right,
you know? And
right.
so I just don't, you know, there's not any reason for me. I don't sell reptiles, you know, to the reptile world like that anymore.
Right.
We're retail online. So yeah, there's just no advantages other than going and hanging out, which I want to do, but it's got to be the right timing, you know?
Right.
It's been like what, maybe 4 or 5 years since BHB vended a show. Like
At least 5 years. At
Wow.
least
Yeah,
5
because I
years.
remember that. I remember when that was when you guys were doing that, and like it was a much different time then too.
I'm
I
sure.
didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't enjoy the vending part.
I mean, I understand people who like just go to shows and this like a part of the culture.
Yeah.
But I don't see how you really enjoy vending. Like, I mean, when
No.
you're stuck at a table, I mean, I understand the interaction part, but for me personally, like I'm so all over the place. And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and you've got to be behind the table if you want to at least, you know, make a buck. But you know, I also talk to a lot of people where they don't vend to make money anymore. It's just all about kind of marketing themselves now.
Yeah,
But
and that's why, like, again, if you're in that world, I think like guys like Canova and a lot of these other places, you know, that is a marketing thing, and it's much like someone would pay to go to, you know, a convention where they're not making any money, you know, whether it's a Facebook or a Google or something like that. They're going to spend $100,000 to go to a convention. They're not making any money, but it's an advertising tool. So it definitely is. But I'm not in that world anymore, right?
Right.
You know, like I don't deal with that world at all.
right.
So there's no advantages for me to go other than to hang out. And like I said, I love, you know, and now, you know, a lot of times like you guys, you and Matt, you know, are friends of mine, you guys come here and hang out with me. So,
Oh, it's a ritual.
So it's, you know, it's way better for me to hang out here with you guys than having to go there. And listen, it's fun going to those shows, but they're also, it's pretty draining too, you know?
I mean, it does get draining. I could tell you right now, one of the things I loved about the show is I could just disappear and go to the room for 3 hours.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm not tied to anything.
Yeah.
Where, you know, shout out to Desiree and Steven, but they were like, where are you, MJ? Like,
Yeah.
it must be nice. Yeah, it is nice.
Absolutely.
How are you
Yeah.
guys doing out there?
I don't think I've ever went to like a big reptile show where I haven't vended ever in my entire life.
Right.
You know, so I don't even
So
know
do you
what
feel
it
like
would be
that's why it's also would kind of be weird to go to a show because you're just really just walking around and
Yeah, I
shaking
think
hands and kissing babies?
Yeah. I think it would be weird, you know. I see this is the thing. I don't know how it would be, to be honest with you, because it's been 5 years. Obviously, where I was 5 years ago compared to where I am today is really different, you know, in a lot of different ways, you know, like
Right.
like I think the way people view me is differently, number one. Also, I think that, you know, our following is so much larger than it was 5 years ago. So I don't really know if I'd be there and would I get, you know, like welcome with open arms, or would I be like, fuck that guy? I don't know. You
Right.
know what I mean? So,
Right.
so it's always, although I went to the first reptile show I went to in 5 years was in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the only reason it was because I was in North Carolina on a shoot something got postponed and I had an extra day. And so I was like, what can I do in town? And I was like, it's a small show, Show Me Reptile show. But I was really happy. I was a little nervous when I was going. I was like, oh man, are people going to like want to see me there?
Well, you have
So-
like PTSD from like, you know, previous stuff. Of,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
people
yeah.
pulling shit and whatnot.
Yeah, you know, and don't get me wrong. Listen, even back when I was doing reptile shows, like that was like at the end of like the real hate train for me. And still everyone to my face was nice as hell. You know what I mean? Everyone just liked to talk behind my back, you know? So, but I was really happy with the Show Me Reptile. I mean, everyone was like super excited to have, you know, see me and we had a great time. And so I think it'd be fine, to be honest with you, but I'll lose a couple, you know, sleeps probably going to Tinley, you know, just to see how it'll go, you know.
I mean, as far as my experience there, just knowing that I work for you, Brian, I mean, like I always like I run into people and 90% of the time it's positive.
Yeah.
Like and even the time where I kind of get in an era of negativity, it's not negative at all.
Yeah.
It's just more or less just like, I don't really think I like how things are going with Brian's channel. And I'm like, well, that's your opinion, bro. It's not
Yeah.
my channel. And I move about my way.
I think the biggest thing that I'm starting to take notice of is, you know, like I said, a lot of the hate that was being brewed up with Brian, like I kind of came after that era. And so whoever is talking shit about Brian, it's not coming around me. I mean, maybe it's because they know we're good friends and whatnot. But I mean, I've even had people come on my show where I was certain they had a problem with you. And I was like, okay, maybe they could be real for a second and say how it is, but they don't. So it's, you know, but that's their deal.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't bother me these days. And I know that I'm on the right path and we're doing the right things. And I think I always talk about personal growth, right? We've had such personal growth in the last, you know, 5-6 years with the way we keep things, the way we think about keeping things, even the way we represent ourselves online, I think. And that doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but
Right.
you know, I was talking earlier today with the boys from Iowa, and I told them, I said, you know, it's about, you know, trying to be on that line as quick. You know, you want to be is like on the line to get attention as you can, but not cross the line, you know.
Right.
But every now and then you cross the line by accident, you know, and you try to learn from that and say, okay, well, I won't cross the line next time. But you're going to make mistakes. But you know,
And then there's a
you know,
habitual line crossers. Like,
yeah, the habitual line crossers, exactly. I mean, if you cross the line and you continue to do it,
right.
then you just don't give a shit about it, you know,
Right.
and then you don't, your morals aren't right, you know. But I try to do the best I can. Listen, you know me, dude. I
Right.
like my whole thing in life is just get people to love reptiles, you know. That's all I care about, you know, and
Right.
and that's what I wake up every day of my life to try to do, and I'll keep on doing it for the rest of my life.
And I would, you know, from somebody coming from the example that you just laid out, I mean, you taught me how to love reptiles for sure. And you're not the only one. Like, there's a lot of people I bring on the show who've been in this longer than I have,
Yeah.
and they still say Brian Barczyk YouTube videos is where it all started
Isn't
from.
it crazy?
So to hear that, and for you to still be about that,
Yeah.
just means you've always been about that.
It's all, yeah, I'll never change, you know. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think in some ways it's like I almost get more obsessed with it than ever. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like I work harder than ever to try to reach people, and sometimes, I mean, you know, listen, I tell people this a lot, where it's like, you know, I love what I do.
Right.
100% love what I do, but I have a horrible life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's not, you know.
Well, if you
like,
want to talk about the anxiety and all that comes with it, I mean, yeah,
well, the
there's
thing
a
is,
lot.
you know, my quality of like fun to work is ridiculous, right? Like,
Right.
I don't ever have fun other than being here. You know what I mean? And there's times like today was a good example of like why I love what I do. We had 3 tours today. And you might have been here. I don't know if you knew what was going on. Like, the second tour didn't show up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they thought that it was like at a different time, so we pushed them to like 2 hours later, because we had, you know, it was like 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, right? And so so the 1 o'clock, I'm sorry, the 11 to 12. So the 12 didn't show. We called them. They were like, oh, we didn't know it was that. So, all right, well, we've got a 1 to 2, so you can do yours at 2. Well, then the 1:30 the one didn't show up till 1:30, which never happens, by the way. Our tours always show up on time. And so now we're like, well, we're kind of screwed, because you only have a half hour of an hour tour. But I was like, I'm not going to screw these people out of a half hour tour.
Right.
So I just did a half hour tour for them. You know, like I gave, so they both got an hour. My point is that, like, that's where I got the joy. Like, that's where my happiness comes from,
Right.
is walking around. It was a great kid and his parents and he like, you know, volunteers at a reptile rescue, and he wants to do reptiles
awesome.
for a living. And, but other than that, like, the enjoyment I get from that world, like, my life is like, I just work all the time from day till night. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do anything that's fun. You know
Right.
what I mean?
I mean, but at the end of the day, for you, it's fun.
Well, no, at the end of the day, I love what I do.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. But I you know, people have to understand that the sacrifice that you make when you're passionate about reaching people.
Right.
Like, when you're so passionate about reaching people with the love of reptiles, that, like, you literally sacrifice your own life, your own quality of life. And that's, you know, that's the only thing that I think, if I had a complaint, like, I wish I could somehow find a little bit more of a work-life balance, you know, rather than just a work balance.
Well, I mean, even right now, we spoke about, I think yesterday, you know, with Lori not being here right now.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
Lori's
Lori's, gone,
with your grandson right
Yeah.
now, holding it down, and
Grandpa Brian.
G-Paw Brian.
I know.
But as much as she, like you said, like, how excited she is to have a grandson, like, she's very attached back here.
Oh yeah.
And right now, you don't really have her 100%.
Yeah, today was day 1 of
No
the
Lori.
no Lori for the next 5 months or so. You know,
Wow.
I mean, obviously I'll see her on the weekends, but Monday through Friday, she's going to be out of town with my grandson. And but it was funny. I talked to Beth and you know, my administrative assistant. I said, how was day 1 without Lori? And she said, oh, she was really good. She goes, but she called like 100 times today.
Of course.
You know, so
dude, I
Lori's
don't
still,
doubt that at
yeah,
all.
she's plugged in. You
Right.
know, and
She
it's hard.
stays
It's hard
plugged
for
Oh,
her. You know.
100%.
I mean, that's the thing that people don't realize, you know, is like, Lori really loves the business, and like she loves being a part of it, and she wants to be a part of it constantly, you know. And it's hard for her to be away, but you know, family is always more. That's the thing I've always respected about Lori, is that like family always comes first to Lori, no matter what, you know.
Yeah.
She's just naturally built like that.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah.
And now I will say, kind of to revert back to the show, I mean, I had a couple great conversations with people who are no stranger to Tinley's. One of them being Mark Bailey.
Yep.
Mark, I told Mark was like, what do you have planned after the show? I told him I was coming up here, and, you know, we had good 30 minutes of conversation about you after that. You
I
know,
would have
the
loved
guy,
to have met him. That would have been cool.
Amazing guy. Smoked a couple of joints with him.
That'd be sweet, dude.
And then to you know, and one thing I loved about our first couple podcasts that we've had, Brian, it's been wrapped around the snakes.
Yeah.
But I haven't, and nothing against the snakes, but monitors are everything to me right now, man.
Your boy.
I am growing up to another level in the reptile game.
Yes, sir.
And I want to say shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, which is going to be Mike's Monitors. Mike STEFANI. I want to say Mike STEFANI is somebody who, like, when he found out I was coming here, he was like, Brian, man, oh my God, tell that guy I said what's up. And then he had a couple stories about you and whatnot, and how, you know, he's very passionate about the Mertens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my
He's
God.
killing it with the Mertens. And
They're beautiful. The ones he's got are
he knows how far you've come with the Reptarium, and I think one of his dreams is to have one of his Mertens in the Reptarium.
Oh, we're definitely gonna have it. I talked to Mike a number of times, and it's just a matter of finding the time to get there. You know, I think he's about maybe a 7-8 hour drive from here, and so it's going to happen sooner than later. I'll go there. I want to get a pair of Mertens from him. He's a great guy and super inspirational when it comes to monitors. He's great. And yeah, the thing is, right, I mean, like, I was always a snake guy, right? I mean, I was a snake guy forever.
Right.
And I think when you start to see the intelligence, and it's not that snakes don't have that intelligence, they just don't show it the way a monitor
It's different.
It's a different relationship.
Well, because
you know?
I mean, I feel like snakes just don't want nothing to do with nobody. Like, they're just kind of just like, you know, I mean, some get tolerated getting picked up and whatnot, but for the most part, a happy snake is a snake being left alone. I feel like, but a monitor is like, once it trusts you, especially, it's coming at the door. It's like asking for attention. And when you have something that's so prehistoric, and, you know, like I said, snakes are awesome, but when you're staring at a monitor, right? Like something with that dome piece of a damn raptor, and then the eye, the pupil, it's like everything just comes together. You know, I mean, I geeked out over Jurassic Park my whole life.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
this is really happening.
Well, I mean, like, every time you look at a monitor, right? Like, there's your human eye catches way more than just what you would of the snake. Like, you see the pupils dilating and closing and opening, closing, like, and then the next thing you see this tongue flicking out in a way that you would never see a snake. Snake would be sort of flipping out, while his is a roll, and he's like really catching as much scent as he possibly can. He's really observing more of his surroundings, and it's incredible to really witness it in front of you.
And as monitor keepers, there's kind of like, you know, monitors that aren't really flickering their tongue.
Yeah.
That's not really a good thing, right? Like, I mean, that means they're not thinking. They're just like,
you want that.
It's either food or aggression, one or the other.
Right. Okay. Now, I mean, to kind of get the topic rolling on monitors, Brian, you told me mainly you're a snake guy, but I mean, based off your love and passion for monitors, obviously it came into your life at some point. So when did monitors roll into your life?
You know, I think Kevin at Nerd is what really started it. You know, I always liked monitors, and I kept monitors on and off for the last like 20 years, you know?
Right.
But you know, I think that when I visited Kevin probably 10 years or so ago, and really saw his relationship with these big water monitors, and just, you know, could see them like, you know, Elvis is a good example. You could be sitting on the floor 10 feet away from Elvis, and he'll walk right up to you and climb on your lap and like sniff you in the face. And I saw that type of stuff happening at Kevin's place. And it was kind of interesting, you know, talking about kind of hate and stuff like that. Like, back then, the monitor world hated Kevin.
Yeah.
Right. Because he was like doing this like habituation with them as soon as they were hatched. Right. And like the monitor world was all like, no, you can't touch them. You got to leave them alone for 6 months. You know, stressing them out. You can't do this stuff like that. And Kevin's like, no, as soon as they're born, I'm playing with them. I'm, you know, petting their faces. I'm touching them. And now 10 years later, like, that's just the standard that everyone does. You know, it's like what Kevin does. You know, and but I think that's when I really fell in love with going out there with monitors, and I knew I had to have monitors in my life.
And you, Kevin, go back pretty far. So, I mean,
Yeah,
what,
like
what year
30
was
years.
this about? Like when you were...
That was the monitors thing was probably 10, 12 years ago.
Wow.
But me and Kevin, I've known Kevin for 30 years, you know, and
What are your feelings about him downsizing the Reptiles and kind of like doing a little bit of a game change? I mean, you know, Jeremy's gone and whatnot, so a lot of things changing over there now.
I've been encouraging him to downsize in a lot of areas. You know, I think that it would be best for him. He's you know, Kevin is probably the most passionate, 1000% most knowledgeable reptile person I've ever met.
Right.
You know, and I mean, listen, I love Philippe Devogely. The Barkers are absolutely amazing. There's just a tremendous amount of really knowledgeable reptile people, but I would put Kevin's knowledge of reptiles against anybody.
I mean, I will tell you what, Kevin's definitely like, you know, what you imprinted with me as far as with the snakes. I remember I got my first Nile monitor, like huge, just like out of a pet shop.
Yeah.
I thought $60 was a steal. I was
Right.
like, you know,
Oh,
I was like,
it was.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just like, look at this.
No,
stuff.
you should have paid. They should have paid you $60.
Yeah,
to take
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
But then I get this monitor where it was about like less than 2 feet. It was a baby. It just always hated me from the start. And I'm talking about getting my eye. Like it got to the point where these tail whips were breaking my skin.
Yeah.
But the only time I was able to get any kind of progress was just kind of mimicking what Kevin would do. And Kevin would always talk about building these small threads, like good threads, you know, and when those seams get busted, then you have to start over again. Yeah. But like one thing that Bruce did today, which will be on a vlog later on this week, was just the him working with Baby Kush, which props to you. You've come a long ways with Baby Kush, man. What a dream sight to see you work with such an amazing monitor. Probably the king of monitors, I feel like.
Dude, I'm living the dream every day with working.
But one thing I saw that you did, and you kept raising him over your head, and he was just like chilling. You know, I felt like he wasn't moving when you had him up there.
It almost snapped him right out. Like he would freak, and then once he's up and high up, and
he's just watching.
That is a Kevin McCurley trick, man. I mean, that's exactly where I got it from. I do it with every monitor. Every time I feel one's getting a little bit antsy, but like I don't want to necessarily let them just run off. That's the first thing I do is raise them up, raise them high, try to get them up where they feel more safe. And sometimes if you have things around you that are taller than them, it's better to go in a more open space because like they want to feel like they're the tallest thing.
Right.
You know, otherwise they're going to see that tall thing and want to go there.
No, I mean, Brian, you, as far as stuff you've seen in the wild, I mean, what kind of monitors have you seen in the wild?
So I've seen, you know, one Bell's face monitor, which is really cool.
Like a big one?
Big one.
Oh,
I was actually, it was an interesting story. I was leaving Bob Irwin, Steve Irwin's dad's place called Camp Chili. And we were right down the dirt road, probably a quarter mile from Bob's place. And I was with a couple friends and we all saw this Bell's face like sitting on a log right on the right side of the road. We slammed on the brakes. All the doors flew up, you know, typical herpers, you know, I mean, every door is open before the cars even stop. We're running. We knew exactly the log it was at. We searched for like at least a half an hour. We could not find that animal anywhere. I mean, like nowhere. Gone. But I've seen a ton of lace monitors in the wild, you know, so a ton of lace monitors in the wild. There's actually a place in Ipswich, there's in Queensland where there's a picnic area
where they all come out.
They just come out, they'll just beg for food.
Right.
You know, they're just like pigeons, you know, they're coming to beg for food. So lots of lace monitors. When I was up in Northern Territory, you know, there were several species of like dwarf monitors that we caught. I went out with a guy named Gavin Bedford, who was a PhD herpetologist, and he had done his thesis actually on frilled dragons, but he also knew a lot about monitors. So we went out and he told me how they would catch them because they would go down like the tree limbs, like into the hollows of the trees. Right. And he said they would actually take a little like fishing string and a noose, and they would like just put it down there and they'd noose them out. Right. They'd noose them out. Yeah, that's how they would catch them. But of course we didn't do that. I chased a couple around. I chased one up a tree at one point, never got anywhere close to it at all. Pretty embarrassing. And then of course,
were these? So I have to ask you, were these like the Kingorum and Cantharus? Like what kind were you chasing?
I don't really even know, to be honest with you. It was probably 15, 18 years ago, so I wasn't that good with monitors.
Way back when.
So and he was using like common, you know, goanna names, you know. I don't know what the subspecies.
That's so cool though. Man, talk about the dream.
There's multiple subspecies of lace, is what you're saying?
No, these are dwarf monitors.
Dwarf monitors.
I thought there were species of dwarf monitors that might be there.
Yeah, there's
wow,
like,
that's
there's
awesome.
more. I don't know what's up in Northern Territory, but this so that, and then the only other monitors I'm trying to think. Well, no, so I've seen white throat monitors in South Africa.
Oh, that's
You know, so
cool.
white
That's
throat
sick as
monitors in
hell.
South Africa,
Oh.
wild ones. And then I'm trying to think.
Any Niles?
No Niles, no
Oh,
Nile
okay.
monitors.
I've always wanted to go
You've
to the
seen
Nile
Komodo,
River
right?
and see one.
Or no,
I've seen Komodos.
in
I've seen
Komodo Island, or where'd you see those
and
at?
the Flores Islands, yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
then-
have video of you with the Komodos.
Yep,
don't
I've
you?
had
Yeah.
videos with Komodos.
But I'm pretty sure I've seen a lot of
And,
those older
how-
ones
how
back
long
in the
was
day.
Probably 5 years ago.
Okay.
5 years ago. And then the only other monitors I saw were I think the only other monitor in the wild I've seen is Brian Cusco and I chased around water monitors in Indonesia.
No
Oh,
Yeah.
is that when you guys went to the cave and got the?
That wasn't the cave. That wasn't in Istana Ular. This was actually, believe it or not, it was in. So I was with a friend of mine, Kio, in Indonesia, who's really well connected there. And we're in Jakarta, and we're actually flying out to Bali that night. And he's like, hey, before we fly to Bali, why don't we go hunt for these? He goes, I know a place that has water monitors. And so we pull up to a golf course. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing at a golf course? And so then I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, well, he's like, yeah, there's a pond back there and there's tons of water monitors. So then I'm thinking like little baby water monitors or something. I don't know why I was thinking there was. We get back there and literally we spent probably 3 hours. We actually we missed our flight to
because
Bali
of that.
because we were
Well, I would have
planning
too.
to do it. And,
Like,
we had to,
definitely same.
You probably wouldn't even gone back.
we had to catch the next flight out to Bali because we missed our flight. But and then Brian Cusco actually got stung by some bug he doesn't know, and his like leg was swelling up and real painful. We don't know if it's a bee or a hornet. We don't even know what it was.
Wow.
But we were like literally on our head. So my point was we had like there was probably 8 or 10 water monitors that would just cycle through, and we chased them for like 3 hours. We never even touched one. That's how quick they were.
Right.
I mean, they would run up a tree, they'd jump in the water, there was this thickets, and this is where Brian ended up getting stung by something. Is there's this thicket branches, and they would go underneath them, and they were so smart they knew we couldn't get to them. They would just sit there, and you like reach you'd be on your belly, reaching to just try to touch. I just wanted to touch one, and they were like 6 inches out of the reach. I mean, that's how. And they would just sit there. They wouldn't even move.
Because they knew you
They just knew I'd be reaching, and they would just
that's
sit
cool.
there and sit there and sit there. But yeah, we chased them around for probably 3+ hours and never touched one. But that was one of the cooler experiences for sure.
Because I'm always curious, like they say how laces aren't really meant to be like, you can work with them, but for the most, it's like laces are like, keep your guard up, and I'm just curious, like how many laces you feel like are sociable in the wild. I feel like almost all of them would want to fuck you up.
Well, it's weird. Like I said, that in Ipswich, they're like tame as could be. I mean, I didn't try to pick any up,
Right.
But you could just feed them scraps. It was pretty crazy. Before you go on, I wanted to tell one more story. I was actually on assignment with Discovery in Queensland for venom hunters, and I wish I could get this footage because they shot like 20-30 minutes of footage and it never made the show,
Right.
and it got buried, I'm sure, and is gone forever. But there was actually a lace monitor good 30 foot up in a tree, and there was cockatoos like attacking it.
No
and
way.
we like literally filmed this whole thing, and what it was doing is it was trying to get to the
babies.
nest.
Yep.
To eat the babies or the
babies,
eggs.
yeah.
I don't know what was in there, but you just heard squeaking, squeaking, squawking, and it was this monitor literally warding off this flock of wild cockatoos. And like I said, it just didn't make any sense for it to make the cut into the show. But man, I wish I had that footage because it was an amazing experience.
That's incredible.
David Kishner, you know who David Kishner is?
Yep.
I know that name.
Guy I follow on Facebook and Instagram. But he has all these amazing footages from his backyard of monitors just invading nests, invading. He has one of a monitor coming out of a tree trunk with like 2 cockatoo babies in his mouth.
Oh my
And
god!
the mom's like right
What?
above it with his wingspan, like kind of telling it to fuck off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And, dude, I just can't imagine the wildlife you must see out there in Australia.
I can't either. Honestly,
That's my favorite place.
I mean, honest, I was going to ask you. I mean, out of all places, if what you have here wasn't holding you back and other stuff, if you could travel anywhere on a normal basis and see wildlife, where would you want to go?
Well, the 2 places, there's 2 really, and hence my arms, right? It's like Africa and in Australia.
Right.
I think they are both very different places, but both have an unbelievable. So, basically, listen, if you want to see reptiles and reptiles alone, Australia is the place to go. You know what I mean? Because you've got, all the monitors, you've got obviously all the brown snakes and the taipans and the red-bellied black snakes and diamond pythons and carpet pythons and tigers and colettes and
it's like the mecca of like the reptile
it's the
world.
mecca of the thorny. I mean,
you can see
craziest, the craziest and nastiest shit.
Giant scrub, King Ornum, so
which like those can't come over here no more, right?
No,
like
I don't think there's any in the country.
I don't think there's not one in the country.
Yeah, so and my buddy Smitty has them.
Right.
My buddy Smitty has one called the Kranken, and
where's he at?
He's in Ipswich, Queensland.
Okay,
and it's a legit 15-footer. I mean, a gigantic. It's like a Burmese. It's like a Burmese scrub python, And I've had the pleasure of holding it and taking pictures of it. But that's it. But then Africa has amazing amazing reptiles too. I mean, a ton of cool reptiles. But what's nice is like, you have, and then of course Australia has the crocodilians with the the freshies and salties. But Africa just has, I mean, the mammal wildlife on top of the reptile wildlife, which makes it that much more interesting.
Hey guys, out of respect, I'm with two of my biggest homies. Let's get the likes up right now. I don't like that. There's like a 30 like gap. I need this to be 100% to view ratio, please.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph and the baby, guys. What the heck?
But I gotta ask you, Brian. I mean, like, let's just say, I mean, obviously you kind of knew what your thing is as far as stuff you want to breed, but breeding monitors never crossed your mind, like you.
No, and I don't know if it's still even like a big thing to me. I mean. I would like to do, maybe one day breed something. It was like, so I brought in like that snowbine albino T-neg water monitor, and I was offered a pair of them. And I just got a male, right? I was just like, nah, I don't, and, I just want a really cool male T-neg albino water monitor. So it's not that I wouldn't consider, and, I'm certainly with Bruce, I'm sure he could breed monitors and stuff like that. But it's not high on my list. I just like interacting with them. I just like the relationship with the monitors.
That's what I feel like too. I mean, let me ask you, Bruce, what's your opinion? I mean,
dude, I have a ton of interest in potentially doing some breeding, especially with the Salvadori, the Croc monitors. I would love to try and do some with baby Kush, maybe later on down the line or something like that.
Too?
Beetlejuice, absolutely. Some various would be cool. I don't even care their bell face. I would be cool with getting a regular female and breeding.
Normals are hot too. I mean, I love the bells,
gorgeous.
But I mean,
they really are
normal for sure.
But nonetheless, I mean, like I mean, Brian knows, like I'm in the process right now of looking for a much larger home and property, and that is definitely a direction I'm considering going. Is that potentially maybe even breeding my own monitors at home.
Now, you guys live obviously in an area where you guys get real, seasons. It gets super cold out here, but let's say you were in a place. Touch up on this too, but let's say you guys had property where you could get away with putting them outside. Would you prefer to put them outside, or would you rather have them in a controlled room still?
No, I mean, I think that it's one of the things I really admire about Tom Crutchfield's place, or you name the person down there. There's a ton of people. Will Nace, I mean, whatever, that they can keep stuff outside. And I think that not every animal down in Florida is going to do good outside, because there's desert animals and the high humidity of Florida and stuff like that. But the species that work outside, like obviously Tom had success with the Croc monitors, with Parthenogenesis clutch and stuff like that. Oh my God,
it was cool.
That is nuts.
But I think if I lived in Florida, I would have my whole backyard would be enclosures for sure, because I think you could do so much more. I mean, I mean, could you imagine being able to build a 20-foot long enclosure for, some, Croc monitors, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's hard to do here because you have to commit, 200 square foot of a building to it, And I mean, obviously the guy from Black Dragons did it, or Toothless Reptiles.
Toothless, right? Corey.
Yeah, Corey. Which was a bummer. He just got out, huh? He's just like done.
Yeah, weird story with him. He's like 20 minutes from me, and I remember going to his place when it was like he just got the facility and he was telling me what he was gonna do, and I was like, dude, this guy's gonna change the game, you know. And like, you know, he was really dialed in. And then
there's a guy I really wanted to meet, actually.
Yeah, and
like
Force was like, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that probably the only reason why I ever got Force to come check out my place is because I was taking him there.
Yeah,
So,
no shit.
You know, but you know, regardless, like you know, Corey put a lot of time and effort into that place. Had some amazing animals. I just don't think he was happy enough with the results. I mean, and I think he was expecting more.
Really?
I don't know,
Okay.
but because it went from him telling me a whole game plan that he had to just I'm selling everything, and I'm like,
Wow.
what? Like,
Yeah.
and then now everything's tore down. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
empty
was
in there.
depressed when I
It's
saw
so
like
sad.
I was
That's
depressed
a
when I
bummer.
saw.
I
it
could
there
never
and
do
stuff.
that. I'm
Yeah.
so. I mean, like I'm with the monitor too. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
of course,
I-
absolutely.
Nobody really knows why he really did it. It could be personal reasons, you know what I mean. But me personally, if I love something like that, I mean, it's like turning in my dogs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
I could never do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like the
no.
way I look at Mac Dre and Alice is, I mean, sorry, Capone and Delilah, but they're on the same level.
Yeah, I
They're
completely
my
get it.
dogs, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? They're
dude.
just lizards.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, I don't really know the truth behind it. I know he's still at that house. You know, what's funny is he lives down the street from my in-laws.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, I used to love going to his place. You know
That's
what I
cool.
mean? And then yeah, but you know what he did tell me, one thing he's really into is building supercars. Like
Okay.
really, like he broke the record for the fastest BMW.
Really?
Yeah,
No
well, like
shit.
Guinness Book of World Record.
Or like an M3 or something.
Yeah,
like that?
so his big
What?
passion is cars, like
Okay.
big time. So
So did he end up hatching any eggs from the croc monitors, or
Mhm.
so they just went bad?
days were bad.
Ah,
And he was pretty confident too.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
But yeah, nobody heard anything of him.
That's a bummer.
And yeah, you know,
So outside of, has anyone else produced croc mon? I mean, I know Tom produced the Partho animal.
I think Chris Murray.
Okay,
Yeah,
Chris.
I heard that name. Yeah,
Chris
that-
Murray.
because
I just
know
had
I
him on the
heard
show.
him.
Shout out to Chris Murray. This guy's monitor game is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he has.
He's another dude I'd love to get in connections with.
Yeah,
He
I
seems
feel like
an
you guys
awesome,
would
cool
you
guy.
guys would geek out off each other for sure.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I know he has eggs right now cooking
Okay.
from a Partho clutch too.
Oh, from
No
Partho.
shit.
It's all Partho.
What the
Really
fuck?
interesting, yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
wonder what it is. I mean, if you could really wrap your mind around, like, you know, because the Bolins is another snake, right? It's
Yeah.
a snake that where like no one could figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Crocs too. Crocs isn't something where people are successfully seeing pairings go
Right.
the distance.
Yeah.
If you could really kind of wrap it around your mind, I mean, do you feel like it's because they're not from where we're at and we're trying to make something happen that
I think there's, I think it's a tough call, right? Because we're seeing, just like with Corey, you know, we saw breeding, you know, so we know that they're copulating. I think that to me, there's a difference between Bull and I and Crocs, because Crocs are from area that we can duplicate. We breed a lot of other animals from the same area that Crocs are found in, whereas the Bolins we know are from the cloud forest, and it's a totally different story, right? You know, I think that it's going to be really difficult to duplicate the barometric pressures of a cloud forest, the temperatures of a cloud forest, the ups and downs. I think someone will eventually crack that nut. I mean, I know people have bred Bolins, but I wouldn't call it successfully breeding Bolins.
I don't know
Because-
who's. I mean, I know there has been somebody.
Yeah, I mean, there's the guy in Europe. I can't remember. Do you know who? Yeah. He's bred him like 3 years in a row, you know, but he gets like 3 babies, you know.
Right.
It's like not like, you know, 15 eggs, 3 babies hatch, you know. So no one's producing like 15 eggs and hatching 15 babies.
But let's talk
you know?
about a monitor that we do have locked in. I mean, like, for instance, I found out that laces. I talked to Brian Waterloo.
Mhm.
The guy's pretty gangster. But
Yeah.
he gets laces to go almost 4 times in 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they're that dialed in, that comfortable, it's not going to stop. They just
Yeah, it's
keep
like-
coming.
it's
That's
chicken,
incredible.
yeah.
It's like
though,
a chick. It's incredible, but like, why the Crocs is the one thing that we can't do it with.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
crazy.
man, like well, see, like like you know, like so, like Baronids sort of like separate into a subgenera, but like with lace monitors, everything within the same subgenera as lace monitors, they all seem to breed similarly 3 to 4 times a year. There's records of crocodile monitors doing the same thing, but obviously we can't really replicate that here in captivity. But like, it's crazy to see, like, they can really produce, and they can really put out like a lot of babies.
That's
like,
a good point. Like, what I mean, you should probably know this more than I. And I mean, I would, but like breeding alligators and Crocs,
Mhm.
like, how difficult is that?
It's not that difficult. I mean, you know, most people that are working with crocodilians are pretty successful at breeding. You just have to have the right facility for them. They do pretty well. But like I said, I don't think that the croc monitors are as much of a mystery. I just think that they haven't been around. I think the other thing is that if we had captive bred animals like, and we do have obviously captive hatch animals that are coming out of Indo. I think the longer that happens, the more likely, because bringing a wild animal in is a totally different story. It's going to take years for it to habituate.
And a lot of those Crocs that first came in here were straight picked out of the wild.
Yeah, exactly. So I think now that, like, just like baby Kush, that was a captive hatched animal. It was hatched in Indo, but it was hatched. It's not. I think if you had a group of captive hatch, raised them up with the proper nutrition, proper caging, all the other stuff, I think you could produce them. I really do. I don't think it would be the end of the world.
So I mean, let's kind of talk about the game plan. I mean, obviously, Brian, I will say, for respect to you, and this is kind of the norm. Whenever time I come down here, you say you're busier than shit, and I feel like you've accomplished stuff that you were busy with before. Now you're on another level. Like you just keep raising the bar. And respect to you, man. Like you're an animal. But what is the game plan once it makes sense with the Beetlejuice with baby Kush? Are you trying to get a female for them at some point, or
I don't know.
happening?
I think if it makes sense, yes. I think that both baby Kush and Beetlejuice in the expansion will get a much larger enclosure. Obviously, Beetlejuice has to, because it's going to grow out of that enclosure, and so it needs a bigger enclosure. Baby Kush is doing okay now, but I'd like to double or triple the size of that. Would I want to get other ones? I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't. I wouldn't mind getting like a Super Bells female or something like that. That way, if we ever tried to breed a Bells to Bells.
Absolutely.
Super Bells.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start writing all this down, so that way,
Shout to John and Alex. Well, these were John. John from Sim Container had a successful Bells to Bells pairing and hatched out some beautiful.
Dude, I saw them.
Bells.
Oh my God, they're
Pink,
gorgeous.
Pink lizards.
Yeah.
I wanted to stop.
believe it.
I wanted to stop and talk to him at Tinley, but like the dude's busy every time I see him. Yeah.
You can interrupt him and he's cool.
I don't know. I always feel like I'll be that asshole.
No. I'm telling you, like
he seems like such a cool dude to meet him. Yeah.
I'm telling you, like John and somebody like yourself, as far as your knowledge of monitors, John's been doing this shit for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So,
oh, dude, I'd love to pick his brain, dude. I'd love to pick his brain.
Now, I mean, to kind of go back to what we were talking about as far as the breeding things, breeding with monitors. If it came down to, I mean, Bruce right here, I feel like is a huge relief because he mainly does all the interactions with your monitors, which frees up your time to do that. But at the end of the day, like, would you not breed if you didn't have somebody like Bruce? Or I mean, because I feel like he's somebody who could really take a load off your chest when it comes to you not worrying about those monitors and you focusing on the YouTube and the podcast.
I think that all my, everyone that's on my staff takes a lot of load off, right? I mean, I couldn't do anything that I do without the people that work with me. I think the bigger issue with me about the breeding is like the number one, the potential for changing of their attitudes. I mean, I don't want to ever like change it. And then of course, if you had females, then you're looking into, potential problems with females with egg binding or, some sort, so that's the part that like slightly turns me off. Like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, let's say, obviously we're not going to bring Elvis because he's just a normal water monitor,
he's living life.
but, and he's great. But even like Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice is getting better and better. I hope one day that Beetlejuice will be a great animal ambassador. It's not as afraid. Now you can open the cage and it'll come right up to you rather than where it used to.
I was showing him earlier about that actually.
Yeah. And so and once it gets bigger, I mean, I always use that. What is it? Speaks with Forked Tongue Instagram account.
Right? Yes,
like,
she's amazing.
Like that's like the and by the way, that's one of the most beautiful Bells monitor I've ever seen.
What's the name of her account?
We speak with forked tongues.
Yeah,
we speak with
and I think it's we
underscore between each. Yeah.
We underscore speaks underscores with underscores forked tongue.
Fee?
Yeah, that's her name. Fee.
Is she from here?
Yeah,
that's a sick ass name.
Yeah,
from
but
Australia.
I mean, do you see her lizard? I mean, that thing is
he's
ridiculous.
huge and he's gorgeous and he's the sweetest darn thing you'll ever
so
seen.
Tame, so that's what I'd like to have Beetlejuice. But you just sit back and go, what if I put a female in? Is he going to change his attitude? Is he going to become dominant? Is he going to change? And that's you got to remember our mission statement here is not so much producing animals as it is educating people about animals and stuff like that. So
that's the account, right? So
Absolutely, that's her. Right there.
is how many lizards does she have? Is it just one?
I think honestly, it's just the one.
I think she might just.
And
have
it's
the
like
one.
very high white.
It's
Whoa,
very
look
Not
at
only
this.
white.
that, but it's a
And it's
babe.
yeah.
Dude, it's a freaking babe.
I've seen her too. This girl, she's been having this account for a while.
It used to be called something else, and then it changed to that account.
Look at that.
And I mean, it just crawls.
So it has to
up.
be a super, you think?
It looks like a super to
It
me,
has
you
to
know,
be, for real.
but I have no idea.
For real.
I mean, girls in Australia are doing stuff like this. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like
Every girl in Australia is a babe.
I've seen her like literally, like just tap on her like her thigh,
And it comes
and it'll
up.
climb up her leg and climb back into the cage like that. It's like, I mean, just by her tapping.
The same
really
way
amazing.
Toothless looks at us, the way he's kind of like it's almost kind of half like, are you feeding me? No, but I'm still kind of cool with you. Kind of look.
Right.
That same look he gives her. Like, I swear to God, like I see that and I see Toothless in every sort of way. It's cool as hell.
I'm glad you brought up Toothless because black dragons aren't something that a lot of people are getting luck taming down. Like a lot of people are getting thrown
Yeah,
into
I've heard
the
about this.
I mean,
though?
Desiree's are off the Richter.
Never heard
Tyler
about that.
Nolan's is
Yeah,
evil.
Tyler's evil.
Hey,
You know,
Des, I can come down and help her
They've
out.
had them since babies. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. What Dark Knight, right?
Yeah,
Dark
absolutely.
Knight seems to be on the chill side. I mean,
Yeah.
And was there never a point where you had to overcome anything with him, or is he
Well,
always been chill?
Toothless actually.
Or it's Toothless,
yeah,
right?
it's
It's
Toothless.
Toothless. My bad.
It's a Dark Knight. It was
Sorry,
a dark.
my
Is a black dragon, but
bad.
yeah, like Toothless. There was that point in time where he struggled, like feeding wise, and there were times where, like if you remember, like there were times where he wouldn't even come to the front of the gate. Like we couldn't get him to come to us or anything like that. But after once we started really narrowing down the ball training, really sitting in like it was just me and Brian for a long time. Nobody else touched him. Nobody else messed with him. And it was just us doing feedings, doing ball training over and over again. The consistency got to such a point now where that's why now you see him when you just touch the lock and he goes, "Doo-doo-doo-doo, here I come."
Yeah.
And now
Yeah,
he comes up on
yeah.
your shoulders, loves you
Yeah.
to death.
Yeah, and you can literally, you don't have to ball him out now. You know, you can just like tap and he'll come. He's just immediately comes. I think he's actually the best monitor lizard we have as far as temperament goes. Even
Wow,
more than
I agree.
Elvis. You know, and
Even more than Elvis.
Yeah, even more than Elvis.
Well,
yeah.
because he's more holdable. Like Elvis after a couple
He's a big
seconds,
dude.
he's not happy
Yeah, I got
with
big
it.
scratches
And he
on my
puts- he
back right
puts it
now.
in, he
'Cause
puts
Oh,
it in.
dude,
like
100%.
2 days ago, I had him on my back, and he just, I mean, just sunk in. You know.
He gets you in the armpit, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
dude,
does.
it's the worst.
Since
It's
we're
the
talking
worst when he
about,
gets you in the
you know,
armpit.
since we're talking about wounds,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about a little bit of battle scars you took, you know, working with Baby Kush. Because
Yeah,
I'll tell you
absolutely.
one thing that like I saw Bruce do, and I said, dude, I just need to do it. I don't like to go in there and grab him.
Yeah.
But with Mac Dre, like that's kind of what you have to do to get him out. Otherwise, he doesn't want to come out.
Yeah.
But I'm also, because of PTS past experience, can't talk why, but you know, I just don't know when something's gonna bite you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
It's the penalty's severe.
But I feel like you're just so trustworthy, and I don't know how you were able to commit to that sort of trust. And you got bit by Kush. Like
So-
you and can we talk about how you sat and how that worked and how you overcame that?
So
and all that?
before I even talk about the bite from Kush, the one thing that I sort of view it, like my mindset on it, is the same way that you would essentially, and I know some people don't understand this, but the same way you would jumping out of an airplane. That you know that you may not necessarily die, but there's always the possibility of breaking a leg, hurting yourself. There's always a really bad way to maim yourself when you're doing things like that, even if you're doing everything the absolute right way. So there's always that possibility, and I guess I'm not comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with the idea that that's always a possibility. I mean, like Brian's seen me dozens of times. If I get hurt, a lot of times I fix it myself. It's very rare that I've ever needed to ever go
You keep it in your car.
Yeah, I keep a staple gun in my car for safety reasons.
So
So
kidding, by the way. He has. When I got bit, I told him about it. He's like, "Don't you have a stapler gun in your car?"
oh yeah, dude,
What the fuck?
I've cut myself open a few times doing all kinds of stupid shit. And I've had to staple myself one more time. And I'll tell anybody out there, I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing it, but you know, a couple
Does it
shots of
stop the bleeding,
tequila,
though?
yeah, little.
So what's the point of stapling it?
Well, you staple it to close the wound, and then you clean it up, and then put a bandage over it, and that does stop.
And
a lot
that's
of
your
it.
stitch, like meaning you don't go to the doctors. That's
No, I
your.
don't. Yeah, I pull it out myself. Yeah.
And does that help your insurance? Or
Yeah, right.
I just don't tell him. I just don't tell him. I go out to my car. I'm off property. It don't matter. Click, click, click.
I gotta take a leak, but go ahead. Tell the story on
Okay,
what you were
all right.
doing and all that stuff.
So Brian actually doesn't happen to be around during this period of time, but he does remember the story. I've told it to him a dozen times, so I know he's familiar with it. But yeah. So unfortunately, I don't really like the idea of an animal biting, and I know you don't like the idea of an animal biting, especially in public. But this happened to be in public. So what basically happened was after a podcast, I kind of jumped on the opportunity to sort of work with some of our animals for the evening. And I decided to get inside the cage with Kush. Still, I mean, it was like 3 or 4 months after we got him, right? It was like fresh. It was not long after we got him.
He was really hyper when we got him.
Yeah. And so and for a long time, I had only just sat in the cage. I had not really approached him too much. I've tried to get him to approach me for a long period of time. And this was the one day where I got the little burr in my butt, and I was like, let's go ahead. Let's do it. Let's try to handle him. Let's try to work with him a little bit. So I tried to push his buttons a little bit, got a little too far. I basically picked him up and I had him in my hands, and I was like, all right, it's kind of working. And he starts struggling on me, and I didn't want to drop him. So what I did was I tried to push him towards his branches. And anybody's been to the Reptarium, anybody's seen your vlog, Brian, they know how his cage is set up. He's got those 2 really cool branches that kind of fit like that. And so I sort of pointed him towards the just like this, towards the to one of the top branches, and he literally turns around and grabs me, like just the side of his mouth, not a whole bite, but just the side of his mouth. He grabbed me one good time, and it was so quick. I like the only thing I noticed was that he squeezed one good time, like just almost like an extra little fuck you, like he has a squeeze one good time. Let's go. Jumps off the thing. And immediately I start pouring blood out into his cage and in the water and stuff like that. The best part about this is absolutely no one behind me saw this.
And you had people looking at you.
I had people right behind me while they were seeing me do this. I hold my arm like this, and I immediately walk the thing.
Did you see the white meat? Like the open,
yeah.
You saw like right before.
Oh, absolutely! Like you could do, like once I got the water and everything like that, it was pretty. It's pretty grody.
So did I need stitches or no?
I actually put 2 staples in, and that was it. It was actually only on the bottom 2 right here, and they were the largest of the gashes.
On property, or was that your
that was actually later on at my house, because I just put bandage on. Yeah. well, I know what to do when you have a really bad bleed. You got to pack the wound really good. Right. So I packed it, put pressure on it, and then later on in the day it was still bleeding through. So I was like, okay, well I'm either gonna put super glue on it or staple it.
The packing thing I do know, because when I got my injury and I took that wound, they basically left my leg open.
Sure.
And I remember
still needs to breathe.
I remember it still needs to breathe, but then like the Neosporin, I would literally pack my whole hole full of Neosporin.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And it actually was starting. I was like, this is working. I cannot believe it. But literally just packing that hole. Literally, this hole was deep, bro.
Yeah.
I know. I saw. Dude, I saw you fresh afterwards. You remember that, dude? Yeah. Oh my God.
What's crazy is how something that deep needs to be left open.
Yeah, absolutely.
If not, if that skin covers that wound and there's still that's how the abscess build and all that other crap.
That's also why you see when you go to the hospital, they flush it. They flush.
Right.
They're not trying to cover anything or pack anything. Right. They're actually trying to get the blood to actually push out whatever impurities might actually be there, because they're letting the body do what it comes naturally to it, right? And so and that's honestly all I do is I'm sitting there, I'll hold it if it's near a so I've had some pretty nasty ones near some pretty ugly veins. And anytime that's ever happened, obviously a tourniquet's always really important. That's why you got a belt, right?
Yeah. Or have a friend like Bruce around, and you'll be all right.
Oh, dude, I'll hook you guys up anytime.
Now, with that being said, I mean, you do have a lot of stuff in here, Brian, that I'm sure, what kind of training do you have for your employees? I want to know, because obviously, you can't be here at all times, and you can't babysit people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you obviously have people who have a grasp of what they're doing, but how do you make sure they have that before you're able to just say hit the floor and you're good?
Well, now we have a little bit different training. As a matter of fact, we just had a book that came out.
The handbook. Yeah.
You have a handbook.
Yeah, we got a handbook now.
And it talks about different tiering of training, right?
I should have brought it down. I was upstairs.
So who came up with the handbook? Is that you?
Lori.
No, Lori. Yeah,
absolutely.
Lori.
Absolutely, Lori.
Cheers to you, Lori.
Cheers to you, Lori.
So yeah, there's like, tier 1 would be like maybe a bearded dragon and this and that. Tier 2 gets into the next, and it goes all the way up to tier 5. And there's really, Bruce, and Mike are really the only ones that are tier 5 that can handle. Like I don't allow people to take out salt except for me, Bruce, and Mike. And same thing, Bruce and I would be the only ones that would ever mess with baby Kush. There's no one else needed. So you have to kind of get to the level where it's trustworthy because, but most of our staff is like maybe level 1, 2, and 3, which means that they can take out, bigger snakes that are tame. They could take out, Elvis or something like that, but they're not going to be taking out things that are potentially dangerous. And then we have, even like an animal like Night Fury, which is the Motley Golden Child reticulated python.
Oh yeah.
I'm the only one that I can only take him out around people. I don't allow anyone else.
So he's a pistol.
No, he's not a pistol. He's just unpredictable.
Right.
And so I've got to make sure that, I don't want anything to happen. If something happens, it's got to be on my head, not on someone else's head. You know what I mean? Because I don't ever want that call. I don't want that call like, oh, someone just got hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's the same thing with Salt now. She's getting bigger and it's a little bit more dangerous. So we're being more careful.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to touch on what kind of Brian was saying. It's not only just knowledge. It's a little bit of being able to communicate too, right? Like for Baby Kush being a great example. The reason why Brian and I were able to work with Baby Kush together is because we communicate. We say like, all right, here, like I tell him, I literally walk up to his office all the time, like, hey, by the way, this is what I did today with Baby Kush and and I brief him on kind of what I do. So whatever he does, he knows exactly what I've done. He knows exactly how I've approached it. He's seen it a number of thousands of times, so he knows exactly what I'm doing. So we're all on the same page with it, with each and every one of these animals. So that's why the tier level is so important, because once you get to that level 5, like we need to be able to communicate. At that point you need to be able to tell me, like just like Mike does, just like I do, just like Brian does. We all communicate to each other like, hey, this may not be the right day to do it, or hey, honestly, this guy has actually progressed well with this, positively experienced with this. This is a good small thread here that I've had with this guy. And so we're able to communicate that within our small group just for now. And it's hard to kind of expand out to that for now until we can truly say you can communicate in a trustworthy way.
Right.
Yeah, and there's really no reason for everybody able to handle everything. There's no advantages to that, right? You know what I mean? Like, I want our educators to be able to take out the animals that are that people want to see, but there doesn't, when someone does like say, oh, I really want to see Salt, then I'm like, all right, well, we'll take Salt out for you. There's no real reason to train somebody until they're really trustworthy on it. So, but yeah, 90% of our animals are so docile. It's
hard to actually make this sort of it this way, because honestly, he's right. We have so many good to work with animals. It's hard. I guess really what we're more concerned with is potentially complacency. Right. And them just not being able to you'll see them do great for 4 or 5 days straight, and then one day they don't, and they can't read that.
And don't forget Jessica with Salt. Actually, I don't think that Jessica takes Salt out.
Jessica actually doesn't take Salt out, but she'll hold her. She'll hold.
Yeah.
Hey, bottom line, shout out to Jessica.
Oh, dude.
Jessica's.
Well, I actually shout out to Jessica because she is actually picking up snakes for me tonight, and thank you. I appreciate you, my love. Thank you, dear.
Being
she's so mad. She's so mad at me right now. It's like more venomous snakes. God damn it.
But okay, shit, I was gonna bring something up until you changed it up. Okay, so going back to as far as confidence building and whatnot, at the end of the day, Bruce, when you see something that backtracks, right? Like if you have Baby Kush have a bad day, which does he have bad days?
Yes.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
do you just give that like tomorrow's a new day type of thing?
Absolutely.
Give him more time to just chill out. Like
so once the moment the negative experience happens, so my theory is that if the negative experience happens, you don't want to put them up right away, because I honestly believe that the negative experience happens. They realize once you put them away that this is how I get put up. And I don't them out yeah, exactly. So like whether it becoming a bite, whether it be a real nasty scratch where they jump on my face or something like really that you don't want happening whatsoever. It's hard to necessarily do that in a negative way, but at the same time, the animal really, really does want to go back home.
Right.
So if you want to go back home, you do what I want you to do. If you don't, you're going to have to stay out for a little longer. I'm sorry, excuse me burping.
Fine.
But
Alabama.
like, roll tide. But honestly, like anytime sort of those negative situations happen, I don't want to right away put them up. But once they're the moment that things sort of calm down, they go back up. They stay for the day. I come back tomorrow and I start all over again and I try again.
Yeah, 'cause I was going to ask you. I mean, like, how did you regroup after that bite? I mean, obviously a little bit of PTSD, right? But
I gave him about a day and a half, and
before he even went in there
went back
again?
in there again. And now this time I didn't handle him though. I sat in there.
Did you don't know? I mean, you could touch on this too, Brian, because I'm curious. Like, some people say use food as the influence to kind of get them out and be comfortable, but then you have people who say don't use food as the idea to get them out. And I want to know what you think about that. And you too, Bruce.
I'm not a big fan of like rewarding food behavior necessarily with them, because if they start to relate food to actions, then it becomes really like if there's no food, they're not going to act the way you want them to act. You know,
Right.
I mean, like that's why we do target training. You know, that's what we do. You know, I mean, and I know everyone doesn't do target training. You know, it's surprising. Like Kevin doesn't do target training, which I'm really surprised by because he has such great trained lizards. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a little strange that he doesn't have target, but I think that food is a motivator to do certain things, but behavior is not one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that what we don't ever want is, well, here, and we're a little unique here because you've got to remember a lot of our lizards are interacting with the public, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like if we have food and behavior mixed, at some point a kid's finger is going to look like chicken strips. They're going to get eaten, you know?
Right.
So that, you know, but again, you got to remember everyone does things. And the one thing I always reiterate is that the way we do things or the way Kevin does things or the way anyone does it doesn't mean that it's right or right. You know, everyone has to find their own right.
Because that was right for them.
Yeah, it's right for them. And if it works for you and what you need and you're getting the results you need, again, we're a different situation because we've got thousands or tens of thousands of people over the course of a year coming through the place, interacting with animals. To some people, it's just their pet, you know, and they're the only one that's going to interact with them.
Yeah.
So at that point, you know, whatever works for you. And if food is that enticing thing, like, hey, come out, and if you come out, you get treated. That's fine for them.
I mean, I could tell you what definitely works for me so far is just seeing what's comfortable for them.
Right.
And like, I have a female and I have a male. I have Alice and I have Mac Dre. Alice literally, lights come on, she yawns, scratches on the door, shows so much interest of coming all over me. Yep. She is routine.
Oh, she's coming all over you, huh?
Yeah, Mac, wow. Drink another beer. No, but Mac, like, just because I see him observe Alice, right? Like now I built him like a little ladder, and he comes down on his own. But he don't like it when I get near him. Like he's like, he does a, you know what I mean? And because I see that, I just respect it.
Right.
And instead of me trying to get where Alice is at, where I'm scratching her, I want him to come to me and want him to do that.
Right.
But in your opinion, if I were to put the pressure on him, could that be good or bad? Because I kind of see that you put pressure on Beetlejuice, and once you get Beetlejuice out, he's chilling. But
So I guess my opinions are a little, like, not even fully different from Brian, but just a little bit offset. Only in the sense that, like, I'm kind of with you on that. I think to a certain point, if you're able to identify it, it's easy to trace that line of like food response and then also positive response. But that being said, like if you can't truly read this animal or whatever, ball training, this is why we do it. You know what I mean? This is why
ball training.
This is why this becomes such an important part of it, because now there's no like there's a clear distinction between I'm feeding you and I'm not. So like that, so they still get excited regardless of whether the ball comes. Like Tooth is a great example.
So let's talk about how the ball training works. If you were to tell me, MJ, get yourself the stick and the ball, how do you utilize it? Like how is something
It's
like
super
from
easy.
scratch?
It's
From
super
scratch.
easy.
Go and tell me
It's
how that
super
works.
easy.
Takes days, literally days.
Yeah, I mean, they're so smart, you know. I mean, basically what you do is you're going to show them a ball and then you're going to feed them. At first, they're just going after the food, right? And then very quickly they associate the ball with food. You know, that's it. That's period. You know, they just go, and it works with crocodilians. You can do it with snakes. We have a couple snakes that are ball trained.
Snake ball training. Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely. King Cobras would do it too.
Yeah, Night Fury is that way. Again, because he's cage defensive and he's very aggressive when it comes to feeding. We had to break him of that. Like when that cage opens, we don't want him to think I'm getting fed every time, right? And so the only way to do that was to ball train. And he'll literally have a frozen pig or a frozen rabbit, and I can have a ball in one hand, the rabbit in the other hand, and he'll ignore the rabbit and go for the ball 100% of the time. You know, and then when the ball's not there, he's thinking, all right, I'm not getting a rabbit, I'm not getting a pig, or whatever the case is. And
so you have the ball to let him know that food's coming?
Yep. No, that's food's coming. Follow the ball. And when
And
he
then you'll
follows
get
the
eat.
ball and strikes at the ball, and I'm going to give him the food.
Oh, shit.
And it's the same thing with the monitors, right? You show them the ball. At first, they're just, you know, the ball is there. You feed them, so on like that. Then after a very short period of time, a day, 2 days, something like that, they start associating. Like, wait a second. Every time I see this colored ball,
I'm going to eat.
That's when
So
food
no ball,
is.
no food.
No ball, no food. But the thing you have to remember is every time you feed that animal, you have to ball them. Right.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it, you're confusing the training. Right.
It literally
You
takes years before you can break them of being able to do that cycle or break that cycle a little bit. You know, I mean, I wouldn't even do it fully. Even here now, we don't do it fully, but occasionally we'll do it. But it's really only to kind of, in a weird way, it reinforces that training. Like by kind of drawing off their attention from the ball, and all of a sudden going like, here's just a cup of food. We're gonna leave it in your cage. We didn't give it to you. Nothing just happened to show up.
Well, it makes sense because you
You
think
know.
about a ball is way differently shaped than a finger or hand.
Absolutely.
Right? And it has some sort of maybe color contrast where they could probably notice that it's not your finger that I'm relating to food. It's this ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
because-
only thing that kind of funny story is the only thing that kind of backfired on us a little bit is that the blue ball is exactly the color and texture of a blue Croc shoe. So
We learned this the hard way so many times.
so when like a kid comes in and we'll have that sometimes, a kid will come in and be like,
With a Croc.
hey, I
Would have
wanna-
never have thought of that. Really
you know,
wouldn't
and
have.
we offer feeding. We offer feeding experience with say Elvis.
So no blue Crocs
So-
in the Reptarium.
So no, you can bring them in, but you have to be really cognizant. Like it happened every summer. It happens where there'll be a kid with blue Crocs and he's doing a feeding experience.
Right.
So now I have to really be careful that Elvis understands where the ball is and where his feet are. And sometimes to the point where I'll have to like I'll have to put my foot in front of the kid's foot so that he doesn't see the blue Croc,
Right.
you know, and stuff like that. So it's but it's literally the same texture and everything. It's really crazy.
It's
Yeah.
too funny.
I mean, I want to know your guys' opinion on this because, you know, they say, you know, pit bulls are labeled as pit bulls, right? But
Yeah.
dogs are dogs, you know. Is it the same with monitors? Like, do you feel like an Asian water monitor is the same, could be the same level of temperament as a Croc monitor or a lace, and that they're just lizards and that you just got to all work with them together? Like, it doesn't matter that it's a certain species that you should be lax with. Like, they all demand that respect, or like, what's your opinion
So
on that?
I fully believe that it's all in how you raise them. A great example, Brian, you've even been able to experience with me was when we actually had our Black Nile monitor. Ubusuku was like vicious.
Do you not have them no more?
Well, fortunately she did pass away, but she was well on 10, 11
She was
years.
beautiful.
At that point,
I'm
man.
just glad I
Like,
got to see her.
she was well at the end of her life. Like she got to live a full life.
You
And
got
that
her
was
towards the end, right? Like, where did she come
No,
from?
she can't. What happened was, she was a baby captive hatch that we got. Yeah,
As a baby.
as a baby. Yeah.
And was she already born in the United States? She come from
No, she was
overseas.
born in Africa. Yeah.
Born
So-
in Africa.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Wow.
I didn't raise her. I got her as an adult after Forrest had her, and she came to Reptarium.
she-
Forrest didn't.
Forrest.
Forrest never. Had
Yeah.
it.
Oh, Forrest never.
Never.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Chris Murray had it.
Chris
Oh, it was
Murray
Chris.
had it.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, it was Chris Murray that had him. I apologize. But like basically the initial experience on her, as everyone that I've talked to said, like this was a menace. This was a mean animal. Don't mess with it. Don't do this. Don't do that. But then when we did the ball training, right, it was like almost immediate. This animal went from being this crazy animal to being like a puppy dog.
Yeah, it
being
was just
sweet
very
as can be.
food motivated, is what it was.
Yeah.
It was very food motivated.
And then if I remember at first, it started out with the snake hook. We would show her the snake hook, and she would realize that the snake hook meant, hey, I'm coming in to clean the cage. I'm not here to really mess with you or bother you. And we would also do the ball training, and we do both of those things. Like snake hook meant I'm coming in. Ball trains mean we're feeding you. Snake hook, ball train, snake hook, ball train, over and over and over again. Eventually got to this point where this animal was a baby. Like, I mean, like Brian's even seen her like drink sweat off my forehead.
And like, I mean, and how many weeks or so of ball training before you notice this big change?
It
Like,
took months.
It
this
took a while.
months.
That one took a while. Yeah.
Yeah,
and it was just like what you guys
a lot of
said.
months.
Ball goes to food.
Yeah.
So if they hit the ball, you give them the food.
And Brian was the biggest inspiration behind this, dude. I don't think I would have had the confidence to have worked with that animal if he hadn't sat there and been like, honestly, I think it's a great idea. let's
what,
try
what
it. Let's
pushed you
do
to
it.
do the ball training? Like what was it
Elvis.
in your head? Was it Elvis?
Yeah, it was Elvis.
I think
yeah,
Elvis, yeah.
And we wanted to offer feeding experiences as well. And that was the only safe way to do it, to do it. And again, you can see he goes from like tame as could be to crazy,
Absolutely.
out of his control to tame as could be, just like that. Like, I mean, just it's like a light switch on and off. And that's the way, I personally, think the way you should treat them, and we could do, again, it's the same principle with crocodilians too, but you just use sound or hand motion or whatever the case
Or
is.
clicking. There's people that have clickers.
Clickers.
absolutely.
Clickers work.
Tongs, clacking
Tongs.
tongs together. I've seen that one done.
Yeah.
Actually, we speak before tongues does that. That's with her bells.
Yeah.
She'll click her tongs together. That's how she does the feeding.
Yeah. So I think it just takes the food drive away, right? Because a lot of times, listen, animals bite for only a couple reasons, right? They either bite because they're cage defensive and they're afraid of you, or they think you want it. You think you're food.
That's why it's never their fault when you get bit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They're just being them.
I can't point to a single scar that wasn't.
Maybe you
initially
ever
my
bite the
fault.
shit out of a fork and hurt your teeth? That's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like, we're just hungry. You ever bit the shit out of your own lip?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've
Or
been
your
so
tongue,
fat, eating. Like,
but just being super
eat that
hungry.
shit. Oh my god, which makes it all bad.
Yeah.
Dude, right? I don't feel like you eat like that. You eat pretty good. I've seen
This
you
man-
eat
I
portional.
tried.
He
I
does
tried.
eat, but he should eat more.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
actually, yeah, that's true. I tried inviting you to lunch, and you said there ain't no lunch today.
There's never lunch for me.
I love him to death, but I know
I-
he can eat better.
I
Why is
don't-
that? Because it slows you down, or just you don't have time for it?
I don't have time. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time for breakfast. I don't have time for lunch.
It drives everybody
My
nuts.
first meal is always,
Dinner?
At dinner. That's always my first meal.
Well, I think I heard on a Joe Rogan episode. By the way, I feel like you're going to be the first reptile person on Joe Rogan. I don't know what it
I
could be a
do-
while
oh my
ago.
god, I so
I
hope
know
so.
he hates snakes and shit, and I've heard some things him say about snakes that pisses me off. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't like.
He
them.
says
doesn't
dumb
like-
He
shit.
thinks
about
they're
snakes.
evil. Yeah, it makes me mad.
He
But
says
I
dumb
feel like
shit about
he's just Joe Rogan talks out of he just talks.
He's a comedian. He talks out of his ass.
But
That's
anyways.
his whole job.
He had somebody on that kind of, he always has somebody on that kind of breaks down like the mythical truth about certain things, like how you should eat 3-4 times a day.
Yeah.
And that's like your body doesn't need to eat that much in one day. Like,
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting thing, right? It's like you get both sides of it. One side of the nutrition thing is if you don't eat more often, your metabolism slows down, and then when you eat, your body is thinking like, I've got to store all this fat because I'm starving, right?
right.
On the other hand, you've got now this intermittent fasting is a huge thing. Well, basically, I've just been intermittent fasting for most of my life, right?
Literally,
Like,
literally, dude.
Before it was cool.
way before. Way
I
before.
just, but it's tough. I mean, it's probably not healthy for me to it's just I'm too busy. I'm just too busy. And interestingly enough, Jay, my camera guy,
Shout out to Jay. Wish you were
shout
here.
out to Jay.
Busy
Love
guy.
you, brother.
Busy guy.
He he's like me, like, and he's a big guy too, and literally, like, we hook up in the morning. I know he don't eat breakfast, I
Right.
mean, he shows up with a espresso or something like that.
All geeked out.
And then neither one of us will eat until nighttime at all. Like, we just go until the very end of the day.
So I can't yell at him, but I yell at Jay all the time. I'm like, bro, come on. Because we'll go and grab something to eat and be like, hey, we'll get you something, And be like, well, I'm in the middle of something right now.
I'm sure Jay knows how
But-
he runs.
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
And-
though
and,
it's both of them though. They're both
Yeah.
nonstop. Go,
I thought yesterday, me and Matt Summers went the whole day without eating, and it felt great.
I can do it some days.
Yeah, you know you can. Matt could also sleep on the plane. Fucking what a guy.
Eyes open with his eyes
Jeez.
I couldn't do
Navy
that. I
SEAL
couldn't do
over here.
that fine, dude.
Bro, I'm talking about like I'm already sweating, like I'm not gonna get no sleep. I look over to say something to Matt. The plane hasn't even left yet, and he's like this,
Ow.
and I'm like this, snapping on.
Dude, Matt, you gotta teach Matt to do that, bro. You gotta teach Matt to do that.
Apple earbuds. Just close your eyes and go to sleep.
He'll be
No
middle
way.
too. Like, I know I go cheap on the plane seat sometimes. I'm sorry, but he'll be middle seat and shit. But I think the last guy that was next to you was fresh out of prison.
Oh yeah, dude, that's right. I remember you telling me this.
Didn't bat an eye. Shout out to my boy Matt Summers. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
I mean, and
Always
what-
a G.
I think I always, other than you going to shows, I've been asking you, like, as far as traveling.
Yeah.
And that's not really been much of a priority because the whole, what it takes behind traveling, wearing a mask on a plane
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't travel hardly at all after COVID, at all for the first year of COVID. You know, I was one of those guys that was like really paranoid about COVID, right?
Yeah.
You know, I wore a mask all the time.
He
I didn't
tested
really
more
wanna
than any
be-
of us.
Yeah, I didn't want to be around people hardly ever. I mean, the Reptatrium was closed for 4.5 months, so I wasn't around people hardly at all. I didn't go to the store. I probably didn't go to the store the first 6 months of COVID.
He made me feel like such a piece of shit. Like I was like, I never got tested. I was
That's
like,
what added up to all your anxiety, because COVID is when you got hit hard with super bad
COVID,
anxiety.
Yeah, COVID crushed me because, you know, listen, I mean, you couldn't feel more apocalyptic, you know. So, you know, for me,
It's
anxiety is like control and safety. You know, those are my two triggers, right? And you couldn't feel less control when you drove down the street and every parking lot was empty and no one's on the road and you don't know when this is going to end and you have no control over everything. And then the safety was obviously, you know, I mean, at the time in the beginning of COVID, remember they were saying like 1 in 5 people could potentially die that catch it. You know what I mean?
oh my God, yeah.
And that was obviously the numbers were way off and it was all overblown. But yeah, that's what threw me over the deep end. You know, it was a really scary time for me personally, and then for a lot of people in the world too. You know, not just me, but yeah, it really effed me up. And so I didn't travel at all for the first like year. And then I slowly started to, I mean, my first trip was to go pick Drogo up in Orlando. That was the first time I left.
You drove though, right?
We drove. We drove. And I think I've been to Florida now 5 or 6 times since COVID. And I've driven every time. You know, I've never flown. I haven't flown since COVID. So as a matter of fact, I was supposed to fly this Wednesday, 2 days from now. And I don't think I'm going to go. I think
Did you even fly after your Italy trip?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, this man hasn't flown since Italy.
No, I actually,
Like,
no, I
even
actually-
Vegas, you RV'd it. Remember you RV'd that? You
Yeah,
went
but-
across
oh
the
shit,
country.
that's right, you did.
I flew the week before COVID hit because I was in Mexico when COVID
I do
was
remember
hitting.
this.
Yeah, I was in
Okay.
when COVID was starting to hit. I was in Mexico.
What were you doing in Mexico?
Yeah,
That was after my wedding.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep,
You
yep,
stay
yep,
we stay at the same place. Yeah,
Yep.
and
Beautiful
so
wedding,
yeah,
by the way.
because I got
Beautiful
here the week before we opened up the Reptarium 2.0. We opened up on the 13th and was shut down on the 16th for COVID. So it's been 2 years, like 2 years and 2 weeks since I've flown. But we got to remember, prior to that, I flew all over the world for 25 years.
For
you
sure.
know what I mean? But I just have a little bit of there's still just a little bit of anxiety hanging on that's causing some issues for me. And so I'm just not quite ready yet. I was supposed to fly this week. And like I was talking with Matt, you know, I think that, you know, I was bummed that the mask restriction was potentially going to lift, you know, on March 18th. And now they postponed it to April 18th. But I have, as long as something doesn't go dramatically wrong, I think April 18th is going to come and they'll probably drop that mask mandate because, number one, all the science behind it tells you that flying is, you know, with the HEPA filters and stuff like that, is some of the safest place for that thing. So it doesn't. Yeah. And I think I told you, MJ, that it doesn't make a lot of sense because flight attendants complain about how they're being
masked.
Yeah. Well, no, they're complaining about being treated so badly.
Right.
But they're the ones that want to keep the mask mandate in place.
And they're getting treated bad because they're supposed to be forced to wear masks.
Yeah, right. So you want to keep it clean, then sorry, this is the strict rules we have to adhere.
But the airlines want the mask law to go away. They want the mask.
But the stewardess, the employees are the ones keeping it up.
Which doesn't make sense because they're the ones that are saying because of masks, they're being treated unfairly. And they're aggressively. There's more aggression in the airlines because of masks, and they're the ones that are taking the. But yet their union is the one that's pushing for mask mandates to continue on. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't.
But I think that the science is pretty solid that really masks aren't stopping anything, anyways.
Absolutely.
You know,
I mean, it really isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you got to think about it, right? Like even when we got hit with the COVID, right, and things were trying to get back to normal, and things all of a sudden, like boom, back to a mandate to where it's like. Some events were getting canceled. Well, now, no matter what's getting mandated again, no events are getting canceled. Like events are going through. They're pushing through now. Yeah. I mean, Tinley, think about Chicago. Chicago, one of the worst places. When COVID happened, Chicago, California, New York.
We thought Tinley would never happen again. We honestly thought that.
And you know, what's funny is like I think there was even talk about the last Arlington possibly having some restrictions. Arlington was a fucking breeze. Not one mask. I'm dead serious. I mean, that's Texas for you, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that is
not
Texas
one mask. So I do feel like we've adapted to China.
Yeah.
China's been wearing masks since the 80s. I remember as a
Oh,
kid.
dude! Oh my
seeing
god!
news,
Yeah, the
like, why are they
SARS,
wearing masks? Yeah,
the SARS virus. Oh my god! They started wearing masks then, and that was the craziest thing that I had heard about this place. Is like when you see the old videos of the SARS videos, it literally looks like America today. Like
what I don't understand is this, and this is like I feel like the whole of the COVID. I don't want to call it conspiracy because it's a real thing, but like for instance, Bobby Lee, you know the comedian Bobby Lee.
Oh, of
Tiger
course.
Belly. He has a podcast called Tiger Belly.
Yes.
And like I always hated Carlos Mencia. Like before he got caught.
Oh my god, I've met him in person.
I never
too.
liked him. I just never liked him.
I've had him sign shit. Yeah,
he's a George Lopez fan, and I remember seeing George Lopez talking shit to him.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
never liked Carlos Mencia. And so I remember like I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. There's some YouTube videos where it says like the downfall of this and this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely, dude. That would be so
So
good.
I saw this episode with Carlos Mencia on Bobby Lee, and Bobby Lee was just called him out about you're stealing people's fucking shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I was going with that. Hold on.
You're talking about COVID conspiracy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I don't know where I was going with that.
He'd say
It's still
conspiracy,
ridiculous because Carlos
Bobby
Mencia
Lee.
stole a bunch
But
of
he
bullshit.
really did. But what was I gonna fucking go with that, Matt?
China, SARS, China wearing masks.
Mass, yeah.
This happens at least once an episode.
That's all right. You know what? I understand.
I can't remember where I was going. I had a really good
Children, this is your brain on drugs. Okay.
But I don't know. I do remember like Carlos Mencia being somebody like called out for what he did, and I mean the fucker never owned up. I mean, as much as information is out there that he's jacked people's like skits and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Never owned up to it.
It was funny because he was on top of the world for a minute.
It's so
Oh,
funny
his
too,
own
because
show?
I was a
Fuck,
huge
burning
fan of him
people.
until I found that out.
Yeah.
I once I saw like when people were putting like clips next to his like he'll do a skit and it would be like,
I know where I was going at with that. Okay,
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
This COVID, right? So one thing that stood out to me during this interview is you have Bobby Lee talking. This is a year ago too. So Bobby Lee talking no mask, Carlos Mencia talking no mask, and there's this other girl there with a mask on.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you have a mask on?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to like? And was she sick? I mean, I don't know. Could be, but I always feel like there's that one person that just wants to keep a mask on.
Yeah.
To almost show like they
You feel
care.
like
They want to show everybody like
Why
I
are you
care.
driving with the mask on?
Yeah. Right. And the driving with the mask is the same thing.
All
I've
over
seen
California.
I've seen Uber drivers with the mask on,
Nobody in
but
the car.
nobody else in the car. Yeah,
Well, it's funny.
nobody else in the car.
Noah obviously was just in LA a week and a half ago.
Shout out to
And he
Noah.
said, he said.
What's up, brother?
He said that it was pretty because here in Michigan it's pretty. I mean, you see masks at stores every now and then and stuff like that, but for the most part it's pretty much normal in Michigan nowadays. I mean,
Going back
there's
to
no like when you're when we're open at the Reptarium, 90% of people don't have masks on. I mean, hardly anyone does and stuff like that. But he was surprised at how California was still pretty strict. He was like, you can't go anywhere without a stupid mask.
So it's funny you say that, right? Because
And I thought they dropped it though.
no, well, check this out. Pomona show, right?
Yeah.
Rami.
Oh, you had to have like a test,
Dude,
right?
Or a
vaccine
I walked
card.
right in that bitch.
He's a fuck that shit.
Rami was concerned. He was like, "Hey, MJ, I know you have Desiree and Steven coming in. Are they vaccinated?" And I was like, "I doubt it, because they don't give a shit. Not that they don't give a shit. I'm just saying they're in Indiana. They don't have to get vaccinated." Then he's like, "Well, they could take a test too. Like they don't." And I'm like, "Okay." So I was like, "Okay, they'll take the test." I was like, "Don't worry, they'll take the test." And I'm sorry, Rami, I'm saying this right now, but we all showed up.
And just came in.
Fucking, we got our tickets and we walked right in.
Yeah.
And there was no like if the county really wanted to mandate that and watch it, they would be all over it.
Yeah.
But what they want is people who are throwing events to say we are checking.
Yeah.
And as long as you're saying that, have a good time, have an event. You want to know why? Because Universal Studios. My sister was in town. It was my nephew's birthday. She's like, "Yo, we're going to Universal Studios," and she didn't tell me that we had to show proof of 2 shots. At that point, I only had 1 shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "What the fuck am I gonna do?" I was like, "We're already almost here," and I was doing fraudulent activity. I was trying to get my buddy to send me his shots. I was worried because I was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna not go to Universal Studios. This is ridiculous."
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah.
So I was like, "You know what? I'm sorry. I'm already here. Let's see what happens." Walked right in. Didn't show not 1 proof, not 1 anything. And I'm not trying to say like what I did was cool, but I got in.
Right.
It's like I'm here to see Harry Potter
What the
World.
fuck?
Get the fuck out.
I had the best time ever. By the way, Universal. Ryan, I need you to come to. Here's the thing, Ryan.
I just need a
Ryan
wand.
Barczyk, what a guy, right? But the guy needs to do a little vacationing, and I'm trying so hard to get
Oh,
him,
please,
Lori.
please let
I
this
would
man
love
go
to
get a
I've been
vacation.
talking to Noah too. He's saying that you guys might even come before July.
Yeah.
Dude, his last vacation was Italy.
Yeah.
Like, how long was that? 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
Well, no, it was
man.
long- it
Like,
was
you
two-
need
it was
another
two- it was
gosh
2 years-
dang
2 years ago,
vacation, man.
But yeah, I haven't even had really more than a day off in years. But
Because you got to admit, even when you like, let's talk about why you've been traveling. You've been collabing with the biggest
Yeah.
YouTuber
Oh, dude,
in the
killer
game.
shit,
Yeah.
dude.
And Brian, this
Killer
is why
shit.
like the whole
He don't like to brag about himself, but he's been
I know,
he's been
right.
he's been vlogging with some killer people.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why like I feel like the Joe Rogan thing is destined to be in your
Yeah.
cards at some day.
Absolutely.
But who is behind a lot of this traveling that you've been doing lately? Let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
yeah, I mean, obviously, been working with the Mr. Beast team, and it's been really an interesting thing. There's I always say that. And I'm 52 years old, right? So,
What?
Yeah, I'm 52.
You lied to me. Told me he was 43.
I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be nice.
No,
I'm not allowed to say the man's
No,
age.
I never hide my age because I feel very young at heart and stuff like that.
Right.
But my point is that I think it's the biggest mistake someone that's in their 40s or 50s makes is that they don't learn from young people, right? Because young people sometimes are really innovative, especially when you're talking about the world of social media and stuff like that. So like even when I started vlogging, there was 2 things that happened when I started vlogging is that I started hanging around like 21-year-old like really successful YouTubers.
David Dobrik
like
was
David
one of them.
Dobrik, exactly, guys like that. And then Logan Paul was another one. And then and then Noah was only like 16 at the time, and Noah really started to like open my eyes up to the way the youth of the world looks at YouTube. And it's the same thing now with working with Jimmy for Mr. Beast and the crew there. It's just how like radically different you can think of things, I mean? So I've learned, I've told people a lot, listen, I've got a long way to go to understand, but I probably learned more about YouTube in the last 6 to 8 weeks. And I've been
doing YouTube for a while.
He was an OG, dude. OG, like legit OG.
I mean, still
Right.
standing OG. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
I mean, I will say there are a couple people who like toot the horn because I do talk about how much you've paid the wave on YouTube for me, and there are people who be like, "Well, Ralph Davis was before." Like
that's actually not true. Ralph was not. It was
I
way.
don't,
way
I've never heard of Ralph Davis, and I've heard of
No.
this man before.
That is
Archie.
true.
No, I don't think
Yeah.
Ralph didn't start YouTube till years after. Ralph wasn't even in the reptile business when I started YouTube.
Like
Yeah,
I
so
had
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yeah,
I had barely 2 snakes to my name,
No,
and I still knew who Brian Barczyk
the
was.
only the truth is that the only person that was on YouTube before me was Viper Keeper. That was the only guy on YouTube before I was.
And was that only venomous, or what was Viper?
Yeah, he
Keeper?
was just venomous. He still does some videos.
Dude, he's got some spider
but,
tails.
But he but yeah, he was just barely. I mean, maybe he was on YouTube for about 2 months when I got onto YouTube. So yeah, there was no one. Yeah, I didn't follow Ralph by any stretch. Yeah, no.
I do want to say quick out to the super chat right here, the homie Silver Cash.
Yeah, Silver Cash. That's my
Oh,
boy.
Silver
Big
Cash.
supporter
What's
here,
up, brother?
man.
Yeah,
And
that's
just-
Jason. Yeah,
I will say Jason is definitely a real day one BHB Brian Barczyk supporter.
no, Jason's a great guy, man.
Roll
He's
Tide,
another
brother.
guy.
Roll
Roll
Tide.
Tide.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He
but-
just got his first ball python clutch yesterday, or was it yesterday? It was Saturday.
Yeah.
It's Saturday.
There's a lot. It's a lot better stretch from the rats, man. I appreciate that you gone down to the ball python.
Wait,
world.
he used to breed rats.
He still does.
He
Still
does,
does.
yeah.
So before he had snakes, he was just breeding rats for fun.
Rat breeder hunter. Oh, not for fun. They make a
he's
good bit
slinging
of
them.
money off of it. Yeah, they make a good bit of money off of it.
I mean, that being said, I mean, Brian, at one point you were breeding rodents, right? Or were you
Well,
never
yeah,
breeding
for a very
rodents?
short period of time. I never was like a rodent breeder, but I had several racks of rodents that I tried. And it was just for like live fuzzies and
But you
stuff
do
like
have
that.
some
African
some stuff-
soft furs too. We
You
did
do
that.
get live animals. I mean, live
I
feeders
buy
here.
live feeders. Yeah, I buy
Okay.
live feeders. Yeah, I buy them every week. To me, just breeding them is just too much. There's two things about breeding them. It's
So-
like number one, I want to work with reptiles, not rats. Two, I really like all animals. And what was happening when I used to breed rats is that I would like, oh, this one's too cute. I can't feed it off. And
Bro,
then I'd have
thank
like
you.
100. I'd have like 100 rats that were like my pets,
Are you talking about the Dumbo little fucking?
Oh, I
they
love
look like
those.
sheep, and I'm
Yeah.
like, look at your coat. I would like brush it, and I'm like, I
They're
need
so
to keep
soft.
you. I
They're
need
so
to
soft.
keep
The
you.
Rex ones are the worst. They're
The
so
Rex
soft.
ones, yeah, they're called Rexes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just
Yeah.
couldn't do no more. You know what's funny? like I was so upset that I had all these rats. I remember when I stopped breeding the rats, I killed all my adult breeders, and it was the depressing thing ever.
Yeah.
I was so mad at myself that I had to do this.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget how fucked up my nights were after that.
My first dive into a large group of snakes, like before I worked for Brian and stuff, I did the same thing. I thought to myself, like, hey, if I could breed them, it'll be cheaper. It'll, like, you know, like just like anybody else does. Like I thought that would be the best route to take. And basically, like, yeah, the smell, all the problems, and eventually I just got to the point, just like you did. Fuck it, I'm just taking the breeders, throwing them in the cages.
Well, I was lucky enough to do that because, you know, I was blessed enough to get Steven and Desiree to sponsor me as you know, as a sponsor, and then I had my own local live feeder guy sponsoring me. So I'm in a position where I'm lucky enough. But
it's
you know,
awesome
I have expansions in my mind. Like I know at some point I will have to breed my own rats again. But I do feel like a lot of people who just starting to like watch your videos and wanting to get into breeding feel like they need to breed rats. But necessarily, like, do you feel like that's a smart thing to do, or like?
No,
not at all.
I think it's, you know, again, it's an individual decision, right? You know,
Because what if you don't have a plug on stuff?
Yeah,
like, what if, like, you don't have
you
a
might.
hookup?
If you can't listen, if you can't get live rats at a reasonable price, probably breeding rats is your only option. But you know, you also have to think about the time management. You know, if
Where
you're
you
gonna
live
spend,
too
you
is
know,
a big problem there. Like
Yeah.
you can't exactly go doing that in your apartment or anything like that. You need a bit of a property to do that.
So, I mean, it's just everyone's going to have to make that own individual thing. Some people, you know, like obviously Justin Kabelica has a great situation going on. He breeds rats and does stuff like that. And
you've been to his place, right?
Yeah, you've been to his place.
Okay, now let me ask you this. I mean, BHB impressed the shit out of me, right? But you've had BHB set for years. Like,
Sure, yeah.
Like Justin Kabelka did something in 2021.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you
Like
know, a
completely
whole from scratch building.
Oh my
So,
god,
I
dude,
mean,
it's incredible.
What was it
he
like
did.
for you being in this for so long, walking into a building like that?
Well, so, you know, I was expecting what I saw, you know, because I've seen everything online and stuff like that. And I've known Justin for a long, long time. And, you know, he's a class act, right? You know what I mean?
Very class
He's the nicest guy I've ever met.
The thing about Justin is he understands two things. Number one, you know, listen, does his facility need to be that nice to be successful? No. But he has standards, and he also realizes
just like you.
But what he also realizes is that image is everything, right? So that's what everything he puts out, the color schemes, everything is
the
about
way he takes
image,
pictures of them.
you know. And so
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So my point is that where Justin and I aren't the same is the fact that he's trying to cultivate an audience of people that are going to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 or maybe spend hundreds of thousands of dollars with him. So obviously you can't be like a grungy shithole and sell snakes like that, right? You've got to be Canova, which is this beautiful, like, you know, the
structured
Tesla,
on point, right?
The Tesla,
that crisp,
you know,
crisp, clean look.
Why do you think a Tesla goes for more than an EV car from GM? Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of what
Chevy can't sell it.
Electricity.
Chevy can't even sell it. Like Mustang even.
It's so funny you say that because, like, you know, I listened to one of my favorite podcasts with Joe Rogan is Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's actually a really good one.
And if you listen to him talk and you listen to a Kabelka, they almost talk like almost the same.
Honestly, I didn't think about that, but you're right.
They process
you're
before they
100%
say,
right.
and then they take their time before they talk.
Yeah,
and it's very clear what their answers are.
Like they don't
just
say
spit
anything
out.
without fully
Processing
considering and processing it. Yeah,
Right.
and it's really cool to see them like analytically go about how they speak to another person. Like this is exactly how I'm going to map this out for you.
Because
like, you know what I mean? It's so
like,
cool.
Brian, you asked me a question. I'm probably gonna try to answer it before you're done asking me, because I'm super hyperactive. And then I noticed Justin is somebody who like waits a couple seconds. Like he'll process it.
Sure. Because
he just doesn't want to be an idiot and speak before he thinks. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
So I mean, it makes sense, but it's like I feel like that's a gift too.
Yeah, it really is though. I don't like. I mean, we're surrounding ourselves with the concept of people that just like speak from the hip. You know what I mean? Just go at it.
Even you, Brian. I mean, how long have you been living your life being careful with what you say? Because how many people are fucking like, oh yeah, let this motherfucker.
They're waiting for it.
Oh, I know.
There's no doubt that, you know, you learn to filter yourself pretty quickly, you know, and you have to filter yourself because, you know, and that's just the way it is. But Justin does a great job of it. He's a great guy. I think he's a wonderful example of what that industry should be. That part of the industry, that's
Absolutely.
the investment ball python world.
So cool.
And he's, he's.
I love that he
leading the way.
admits that he wants to be number one. Like
Yeah.
that's his passion. Nobody
Yeah.
passing him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess where people are at passing him up? Like the guy's in another planet.
Dude, I would 100%,
Like
dude.
orbit.
Like you walk by his booth and it's just like banger,
It's like,
banger,
can't afford
banger,
it. Can't
banger.
afford it.
Yeah,
Can't
no,
afford
no.
it. Can't
But
afford it.
like
Can't afford it.
2,000,
buy this.
2,500,
It's for sale, but guess
6,000.
what? You
Like,
can't buy
yeah,
it.
dude. Oh my god, dude. Beautiful, almost artwork type pieces when it comes to snakes. But
okay,
you're right.
I have a question for you, Brian. I know this is majority monitor talk, but I mean, I feel like you're somebody who worked with stuff that is like the pinnacle of projects blowing up.
Yeah.
But like you held back for a reason. Like I feel like there was a reason why you didn't want to go full nerdy, geeked out with ball pythons forever. And
Yeah.
why was that? I'm just curious.
I think that for me, this was something that, everyone has different ways about things, right? But for
100%.
me, I saw too many people get hurt in the ball python world. And what I mean by that is I saw people that invested more money than they should have and then lost it all.
And got
You know,
fucked.
and really got screwed. And I couldn't personally live that life anymore. I'm not the guy that can take a 25-year-old's uncle's $50,000 and feel good about it because things didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? And there was a lot of that happened over the course of my 20 years of working with the high-end ball pythons, where people that shouldn't have spent money. And the truth is that, and this is the harsh reality, and you know this, MJ, is that 90% of people aren't going to make it. They're not going to do well in this.
That's a good number too.
Yeah, and it might be good. It might be
I was
more
being
than
very
that.
positive.
So like that's why I personally held back, and that's why I personally even pulled back harder, is because it just didn't feel. Do you know at BHB now we don't sell an animal for an investment breeding at all. Now we have quality that could be there. We have a lot of clown stuff and a lot of other stuff that's really nice.
Super
But if someone
lorries.
calls us, super lorry. If someone calls us and be like, "Hey, what I want to breed snakes for," we'll give them advice, but we're not going to say like we want to sell you the project so you can become a snake breeder. That's not what we won't do. That we just don't do. That's not our pitch. We say we got this snake. If you want to breed it, we'll be happy to help you out. We'll give you advice and stuff like that. But I don't sell investment animals for people, not because I think there's anything wrong with it, because I think that that's fine. And I think it's great what Miguel's doing, and Ozzy and Justin and Billy and you name the guys down the road. They're doing, great things. And listen, some people are killing it. The very small percentage are killing it. Now, listen, this is the truth of the matter. And I've been in it since 1989, right? So I've seen the come and go of ball pythons.
89 was a good year.
Yeah, it was 89 was a great year. I saw the come and go of ball pythons. I seen the meteoric rise. I saw the crash, and I see the rise again. Right. The fact is that most people are not going to succeed in that world. They're going to invest because they see. Listen, who do you think's making the real money? The guy at the top, right? Right.
Yeah.
So you want to be in one of two places. You either want to be the guy or you want to be the second guy.
Yeah.
You never want to be the third guy. The problem is that most people can't be anything but the third guy. Even if
That's all they're meant for.
Right. They can't. Well,
Yeah.
even if they wanted to be the second guy,
They wouldn't know what to do with
Miguel
it.
is the second guy. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, respect Miguel. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with Silver.
Yeah.
What's up, big bro?
That's my big boy.
Well,
right
you know
there.
what I'm saying? It's like, who's Justin going to sell to? Is he going to sell to Miguel, or is he
Right.
going to sell to this guy he's never met before, and he's going to, go? And that's why the third guy is the wrong guy, because the way the system works is that, let's say you have a $25,000 snake. Justin sells it for $25,000, right?
Right.
So whoever bought that snake for $25,000, yeah, I'm sorry, there should be a plug behind you.
No,
too, I
we're
think.
good. We're good.
But say the guy that buys it for $25,000, you know that it's going to probably be $15,000 by the time he sells it, right?
Right.
Something like that to the third guy, right? Now the thing is that $15,000, if you've invested 20, 15 is not bad, because you can make 4 of them, and now you've made $60,000 on a $25,000 investment. That's great return on your money. The guy that buys them off of you for 15, now they go from 15 to 3.
Right.
Now that guy at 3 has to produce 5 just to break even. Whereas before, when you produced 6, you made a ton of money. You made 40 grand. Now you got to break even that first. Now you're breaking even the first year. The second year they go from 3 to 1,500. Now you got to,
So
now
you're just going down.
So now, okay, now you've produced 10 the second year. You made 15 grand. 15 grand isn't a lot of money when you've invested after 15 grand to get into it, right? So now you're in your 4th year before you're really making money. And now that money isn't 15 grand, it's 5 grand. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, you were the one that kind of brought the reality to Forrest when you asked him, how much did you make this year?
Right.
And he just dropped a number, not including everything he put in.
Right. And that's what I
People
remember.
People don't see that.
I remember Forrest telling me that. He said, I crushed it this year. And I said, well, what did you make? And he said, I made X amount of dollars. And I said, you made X amount or you kept X amount? Right. I go, what is in your bank account at the end of this year? And he goes, well, I had to buy some racks. I had to do this. I'm expanding here. I'm buying this trailer. I'm
Zero. So much money, bro.
Zero.
Yeah, and that's what he said. I said, so what you're telling me is you didn't make any money this year, right? And he goes, well, I didn't put any money in the bank, but my collection's worth more. I said, so you made zero. Period. That's the reality.
So whatever you made, you put back in.
Listen,
it's the investment mentality. You know what I mean?
Well, and let me ask you something. Do you think that Justin Kabelica isn't putting money into investments?
Bro, he
absolutely,
has,
absolutely.
Bro, his whole facility is brand new Freedom Breeder racks.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So the point is that Justin's a smart guy. Ozzy's a smart guy. Miguel's a smart guy. Lots of other people are smart people too, but they're not putting every dollar in. And that's maybe where I wasn't the smart guy. Because the truth is I put every dollar I made back into animals. That's what I did.
But from the beginning, because I remember hearing a story of you having an albino Burmese at 18 years old that really helped you leverage where everything came from that snake or something like that.
Absolutely. No.
Is that true? Or
100%. My first albino Burmese production year. My first albino Burmese production year was I was 17 years old. I don't even think I was 18 at the time. And I made 40 grand off of that production. So yeah, that was what started the whole thing, right?
Did you just say you made 40 grand off Burmese pythons?
Yeah, 40 grand
Holy moly! Oh my god!
And that was when I was like 17, maybe just turning 18.
Just to hear that statement, are you kidding me, dude? Like my mind is just what? What?
But unfortunately, I put every dollar and more back into Reptile.
Yeah,
I didn't, invest in properties like Ozzy or Miguel or Justin Kabelica has and stuff like that. And because I was an animal guy, I wasn't a business guy. I wasn't that wasn't what I did. I was just.
When you say Ozzy, you mean Ozzy Boyds?
Ozzy Boyds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure I understood that.
But yeah, it's again, it's one of those things that the top guys crush it and the bottom guys get crushed.
Yeah.
And that's why.
So there's no middle guys, basically, what you're saying.
I mean, there's middle guys, but the middle guys are the guys that make 25 grand and spend 25 grand so that they hope they could make another 25 grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
And that's just, I mean, people don't want to hear that, but that's the reality. And I've been around long enough to know that's the reality. And I'll tell you, like, there was a guy named Stuart Williams that I hung out with for a while. He was the Williams and Sherwin and Williams paint, right?
No way,
really?
Shit.
So,
oh my gosh!
Of course, Brian knew him.
The man knows a celebrity, paint celebrity.
So he was obviously worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and we hung out for like an entire summer. He flew me to Vegas a bunch of times to hang out with him in Vegas and do that whole thing and blah blah blah, all that stuff. But he was really interested in what I was doing. And after, he's a smart guy, obviously, business guy. And after, hanging out with him for 4 months or so, I remember having a conversation where he goes, I kind of figured your business out. He said, your business is that you make $1 million, but you have to spend $800,000 to make $1 million next year. Right. He said, because if you don't spend $800,000 to reinvest, next year you're going to make, instead of $1 million, you're going to make 700. And then if you don't invest, that 700 is going to turn into 400, and then it's going to turn into 200, then it's going to turn into 100. And
so you're going to lose quality over time.
Right. Yeah. And he said, so you have to spend 80% of your profit to continue to make 80%, to continue your thing,
Yeah.
and that's something that most people don't understand. And Justin Kabelika made, number one, I know he's buying some snakes. I know he's bought some stuff from Miguel and some other people, but he's also holding back a tremendous amount of stuff too. When you hold back an animal, that's costing you money, right? If you could sell an animal for 25 grand, but you don't, that costs you 25 grand, right? And so, yeah, instead of things. So that's what people don't understand is the investment in the future is so extreme. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't breed snakes, but I haven't really made money off of breeding snakes in 12 years.
Right.
In 12 years, I have not made any considerable money breeding snakes. And I would say there was a period of time in that 12 years where I lost money. There were times I was subsidizing BHB with my money from other sources just to keep the business going.
But
I remember those days
But
too.
while that chart is going down, what else is going up?
Right. Well, exactly. I mean, YouTube is going up, the Reptarium is going up,
and that's
other
what you
business
paid
investment.
attention to.
Right.
And I feel like that's why you're at where you're at right now, where
Right.
BHB is. You still have BHB, but it's not nowhere the size it was once, like 6 years ago.
No,
Oh,
right, yeah.
man. If
Because
you
how
saw the
much,
23
how,
in Hayes
how
place.
great the YouTube thing is going.
Yeah.
But like, how would you recommend anyone getting any kind of profit in this game spend their profits? Like, I mean, because you gotta understand, there's a couple people who get a couple good lucky years.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, I made 80 grand, or no, last year I made over 100 grand off my snakes.
Yeah.
But like, what should I do with that money? Like, I mean, what's this? Because like, it doesn't guarantee I'm gonna make 100 grand this year.
What I would do, my advice to you is to take 30 to 40% of every penny you make and invest in something that's not snakes.
That's not snakes.
That's not snakes.
That's not snakes.
That's
What about
not
the podcast? Is that not snakes?
That's an investment. It's an investment.
So that works.
I feel like he's right there though.
No, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
You
I
gotta
like
have something
like
else
I
cooking.
like I'm not in the same boat as he is in any way, but I honestly like the way you kind of feel out the way the world is sort of working in that direction. It's like you might be able to make, like you said, like 100 grand off 1 year. But that next
Ain't
year, like
guaranteed,
he's
bro.
saying, like
No.
you might be only making 30, 40.
You probably had crazy years where you're like,
multi-million-dollar years.
but then I mean,
Yeah.
like, that ain't shit compared to.
Well, what you have going on there is you've got, you have a number of things that are at stake, right? You have that $100,000 a year is number one. That $100,000 a year is number one, your odds,
Right.
What you hit male. Not only are you talking about odds of genetics, but then you're talking about odds of male to female ratio.
Right.
Number two, you're working on what the market is, right? Like does the market, did you hit Cypress at the right time, right?
Right.
Or did you hit it the year late? And then you also have the fact that fertility, egg hatching. Does this female that proves 4 years in a row take a year off? There's all those things that are very volatile. So that's the thing. There's a saying that says the higher the risk, the higher the reward, right? The more you risk, the more you can potentially gain. So obviously, with snakes, you can make huge gains with very little. Listen, I didn't become a millionaire without snakes, right? You know what I mean? Like I had to have snakes to get me to where I am today.
Right.
And there was no other business outside of selling drugs or something illegal probably that I could have gotten to where I was financially in life, right? So
Just
like,
thinking of him selling drugs. I'm sorry. I was
Oh my
thinking
God, I'm over here trying to smoke some.
yeah.
happening?
like just seeing him be like, "Hey, you guys want a fucking 8-ball?" Yeah.
But so I never want to discourage people from breeding snakes because I think it could be an amazing thing. It's a great thing. But the most successful, okay, so let me ask you this. I'll ask you a question.
Sure.
The question is, what snake person has become extremely successful? And let me, before I ask you the question, I'm going to preference something.
Yeah, please do.
Money doesn't mean shit to me, and
Happiness
it shouldn't
should mean
mean
everything.
happiness and stuff like that should mean everything. But with that being said, we're going to use snakes as money as a means to leverage what success is.
Okay.
Tell me what snake guy is really financially successful just from snakes.
Other than Kabelka.
Is Kabelika really successful just because of snakes, or is it because of his other investments that he's used from
Like
his
what,
snakes?
Like what, YouTube, or like because I've talked to
No,
Justin
it doesn't
about it. I mean, from what I know, it is just snakes. What about Garrick DeMeyer?
Garrick DeMeyer might be a guy that could be in there.
What about
But-
Billy?
but
What about Billy?
But let me ask you this: what do you think Garrick DeMeyer or Billy are really worth financially? I mean, what do they have in the
Wisconsin.
bank? Are they 7-digit business? Do they have 7 digits in the bank?
I think the 6. I wouldn't say
Six?
I wouldn't say $1 million. I would
So-
say Garrick DeMeyer is a comfortable 6 digits in his bank account. I feel
And like I said, I'm not trying to call anybody
No,
out.
no,
What
no,
I'm
no.
saying is that when you really think about success, I mean, like
hold
success.
on. What about Bob Vu?
I don't know anything about
Bob
Vu.
Vu makes stupid money. Like, I mean, I see people spending 30 racks with this guy. Like,
seen his little-
I've seen it. So I mean, I mean,
I don't know anything about Bob.
and I
Vu,
will
but
say
don't know.
this. No,
But
no,
I'm going
go
to
ahead.
what I'm going to say is what I'm trying to say is that Justin and these other guys, I know Justin has a portfolio of real estate and so on like that, you know, other investments.
You didn't tell us that,
Yeah.
fucker.
Yeah. I
I'm gonna
know,
get you on that one, Justin.
you know, Mark Bell is another example, right? Mark Bell has
big time.
the-
He's a player in
he's
a lot
a player,
of different places.
right? But he made his money on real estate. He didn't make his
Was the
money on
snakes
right. The snake money got him enough to buy the real estate.
help the real estate?
And then the real estate made him millions of dollars. Bob
Ozzy.
Applegate, blah blah. Ozzy Boyd's a perfect example. This is the
Ozzy's
guy
actually
that made,
checking out this year,
Right.
and because he's
Because
all made
he's-
off the real estate.
right. And so the money he made from snakes.
Crazy.
That's my point. Is that number one? If you don't care about money, then fuck it. It doesn't matter, right? You know what I mean? But if you're trying to be successful, you have to diversify. You can't. It's like a stock person. You don't just invest in EV. You know what I mean? You
Right.
invest in blue chip. You invest in all type of different markets because you invest in fuel. You invest in whatever the case is. And it's the same thing. I think that's where snake people make mistake is they put everything they have into one thing and they just keep rolling the dice on the same thing over and over and over again. And we're all let me back up again. You made $100,000. What happens if next year you don't produce one clutch of eggs? What does your life look like?
I'm fucked.
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
fucked big time.
Exactly.
You know what's funny? Last year,
And
that I
you
made
don't
that
know when
100 grand,
that could happen.
Check this out, Brian. I got my first clutch in July of last year.
Mhm.
You know what happened to me in May? Supplying to places. I was
Yeah.
applying to a lot of jobs. I thought I was fucked.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
shit.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I was here, Mr. believing that everything has seasons. Where I'm at, everything's fucking to where my weather is because
Yeah.
I'm all ambient heating.
Yeah.
Everything happened the way it happened.
Yeah.
Do I feel I got lucky? Yes, I do. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen this year, but I do not want to bet on it. I'm telling you right now, I'm not comfortable relying on my snakes for income. It's scary. I don't like it at all.
Well, let me ask you this: like, what business have you ever heard of it was successful without any level of luck?
I don't.
I've never heard of a single business.
So, I mean, to answer your question, who is out here doing this stuff successfully purely off snakes? Like, and that could show proof of it. Because at the end of the day, I guarantee Justin has a portfolio of real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And, you know,
There's
so
no way he's doing.
Garrick
it
DeMeyer
just-
out of Wisconsin, he guarantees investing in some sort of cheese.
Oh yeah, geez, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
He probably hasn't talked about it yet, but the
But
price better.
I'm sorry, but that was probably my favorite dad joke you've ever said in my life.
That was
right
a
there.
dad
Like,
joke? I don't even
that-
got
that's
dads.
me. Like he
I mean, I
invested
don't
in
got
some
kids.
cheese in
Yeah.
Wisconsin. Come on, like that's the most
But,
dad joke ever.
but what if that's a for real thing? I
But,
mean, bro,
it's genius.
it
Like,
is
I'm not saying
genius,
it's
but
not.
what Brian is saying is any smart person out there will not just be banking everything off snakes.
Absolutely,
They
I
would
think
take
that's-
their
I think that's a
investment and
great
put
idea.
it somewhere else.
You know, Bob Ashley once told me, the NARBC promoter, he told me that, and this was a very conservative guy. He told me that he took 5 cents out of every dollar he made and invested in something that the bank would give him a loan on. Okay.
Something that made sense.
So
makes sense.
and he said it got to a point where he was no longer excited about making the 95 cents. He was only excited about making the 5 cents
Because that's what got him the next
because that's
step.
great. And it wasn't, he basically said, I'm going to invest in something property, something where I could eventually leverage to the bank. I say, hey, I own $1 million of this. I want to take a leveraged loan on that money. Right. And that's what motivated him. It motivated him not to make the 95 cents, but to make the 5 cents. That's all he cared
So
about.
let me pick your brain a little bit here, Brian. If you didn't have YouTube, let's say there was no YouTube,
Yep.
but you did have all your success off the animals that you
Yep.
bred, what would be one thing you did invest in? What's one thing you feel good about right now?
Hold on, let me get my notebook.
Right.
No.
Today is
Rewatch the episode.
So listen, today is a very tough time. So I'm a big believer in real estate and in the stock market and so on like that. I'm big on those things. I think right now both of those markets are very scary. So I pulled back on some things that I was in. I'm rolling on some stuff because I'm very long. I buy, like, say my stock like my mutual fund stock, all that type of stuff. I buy into things that I believe in long term. I mean, Tesla is a company I believe will be a big company for
Absolutely.
a long time to come.
What about Bitcoin? You like Bitcoin?
I think it's a horrible investment.
Wow, dude. Yes, let's talk. Okay, hold on.
Okay, honestly, I'm with him. I'm with him. Any crypto.
No, and I want to hear what he has to
I'm
say.
down for.
Why is Bitcoin something that does not interest you at all? I'm curious.
No, I didn't say it didn't interest me. I'm very interested in crypto. I think that the problem is that okay, so when you invest in, say, Tesla, you're investing in a company that has tangible assets that will continue to grow. When you invest in cryptocurrency, all you're doing is investing in a speculation that it's going to go up because other people are speculating it's going to go up, that other people are speculating it's going up. There's no actual value behind it. Now, people will, like Bitcoin in particular, because of the fact that they only have 22 million coins, is a little bit different because there's the rarity or scarcity. Now, they haven't mined all those coins yet, but what they're trying to say is it's almost like gold, right? Because gold is a precious metal that has only a finite amount of gold in the world, so that's what makes it value. Whereas, like, let's say Ethereum or Cardano or whatever the case is, there's trillions of coins, right? So there is no end to it. So the rarity. Now, I do like Ether, maybe even better than Bitcoin, because I think that people are going to start using Ether as they already are
form of payment,
payment, especially on the NFT side of things. But NFTs are another great example of a false market, right?
I mean, I know what EFT is, but what's NFT?
A non-fungible token.
Yeah. Wow. And that's what's saving all these major corporations money when they do transactions, right? Because
no, not NFT. So NFT is basically like it's a NFT is more or less like it can be a bunch of different things, but it can be art, it can be tickets for a concert, it can be all kinds of, and NFTs, let me tell you, NFTs are going to be a huge part of our future.
It is the future, yeah.
It is the future. But that being said, the NFT market exploded and now is getting crushed because it was this, speculative
and that goes with the
market.
people investing.
But I mean, like, but that happens with the stocks, doesn't it, Brian? Like sometimes you get, like, for instance, like when Apple really got popular initially, it went up, and all of a sudden it dropped because
there's a big difference though. When you're investing in stock, you still have the company that you're investing in.
Right.
Right. Okay. When you invest in Bitcoin, if that Bitcoin goes down to zero, you've got nothing.
Right.
You can't say, oh, well, I'll just hang on. Let's say tomorrow the government says we are banning Bitcoin, cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Let's say even worse. And
this is
what I think will happen is that, and it's already happening in China. Okay. Is that the U.S. government is going to make their own coin, right?
Their own
Bitcoin or coin, right? And if you want to have a cryptocurrency, it's going to be a U.S. government cryptocurrency. And I think that will probably happen down the road, and that'll probably wipe out most of the cryptocurrency that is not backed by any government, right? And you got to remember, Bitcoin was really created to avoid taxes, to avoid being able to do
transfer funds without needing
basically.
that.
To do illegal things and not have things traceable and all these other things. And then it blew up to something completely different. It became a speculative market to invest in.
But then now you even have these influencers that you're cool with that are getting popped for scams with this shit.
100%.
Absolutely.
And that's my problem. Is like, how's this supposed to be the future when people are scamming this?
Yeah. Well, I think it's much like everything. You may not know this, but do you know that in the early 1900s, there was 2,000 car companies? Okay. 2,000 car companies.
That's a lot. Like, so Ford, Toyota, like whatever the fuck.
On top of that, actually, weapons manufacturers, same thing. There was
talking about weapons, Bruce.
But we're talking about money investment.
But that makes sense.
My point is that when it all shakes out, there's not going to be 10,000 cryptocurrencies. There's going to be probably U.S. cryptocurrency, China cryptocurrency, Russia cryptocurrency.
UK, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's going to have their own
national cryptocurrency.
And listen, I'm a huge Warren Buffett fan. I mean, he's the
creator of buffets, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I was waiting for a joke. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, golden.
Really, I was already thinking of it, and I was laughing.
I'm hungry.
The Golden Corral, but no, I'm a huge Warren Buffett fan, and he talks about it like, he invests in companies, and there is no company behind Bitcoin, right? And like I said, you could maybe make the argument about Ether being the fact that, it's, most NFTs are backed by Ether. More companies are accepting Ether as payment and so on like that. So there's at least some tangible value in the service, the IP that comes behind, some of the cryptocurrency. But also now the government is wanting to get on the tax side of it. You're not allowed to,
fighting it like crazy.
I just, again, I'm intrigued by crypto, but I think that a lot of people are listen.
So you're probably doing stuff to stay on top of crypto. Are you watching news?
I read of crypto constantly. I'm always out buying crypto. But just think about the people that paid $66,000 for a Bitcoin. They're not feeling too good about Bitcoin.
I know people
right
who
now.
spent $10 on the Bitcoin, and now it's at where it's at, and that's where I'm like, different. Holy shit! And these people are millionaires off of it now.
Well, right, and if I was them, I would take their money and run because it's because
the time.
Yeah, because it may go back up a little bit, but there's a good chance.
Where it was.
So this is the thing: would you invest $1,000 of your money that you could make 10,000, but you might lose all of your $1,000? Because that's what's happening with crypto,
you
right?
Make that 10K, but you can also lose that 1,000.
It's a massive risk. Basically.
You're not. There's no security behind it.
So if you have money to shit on, then take the risk. But
and what Bruce said earlier about Apple, it's like if I'm going to buy Apple, I'm buying Apple for the next 30 years. I don't need to sell. They always say when you buy a stock, and I'm sorry we're getting into all this financial shit. I have no idea if
people are loving it.
I'm smart.
Look, we're at 100 views right now. We're actually going up right now.
Okay.
We're good.
I'm personally
look at that.
in this.
111 likes, only 100 people watching.
Good. Well, there you go. There it is, man.
All right. I'll take it.
I want to blame the bite.
Okay.
So
no, but look, people are listening.
But what I was saying is this: that I invest long term on everything. You know what I mean? So they always say that you don't lose a dime on a stock until you sell a stock, right?
Right.
And listen, we're not, we're coming in on a tough time. People don't understand that. And this is the thing about even the ball python market that does concern me a little bit is that, I've been around long enough to go through three recessions, but two big recessions. Of course, the great recession of 2008, right. And then of course in the late 90s, and then in the 2000s as well, in the early 2000s. And
2008 was a real estate crash. Like that was a huge. Wasn't that altogether a world crash?
That's what they called it.
You bought a house, didn't you, at that time?
No.
Okay, I'm trying to remember when you got your house.
No, it was in the early 2000s.
That was a bad time though.
But so. They called it the Great Recession,
right?
And really, snakes that were selling for $20,000 went down to like $1,500,
like the bananas and shit.
Yeah, like I'm talking like overnight, like it within a month it went. I had probably at the time I probably had $2 million worth of saleable ball python inventory that immediately went down to probably under $200,000.
And that wiped a lot of people out there.
Right. So my point is that we're I think anyone that doesn't think that we're heading into a recession right now doesn't understand what economics is. For two things. Number one, if you look at the fact that we're in a 14-year bull market, the typical market only lasts about 10 years and then we go into recession. So we're already 4 years overdue for a recession. We just printed a third of the money that we've ever had in the world. We just printed in the last 24 months and gave away for free.
Yeah.
Then we have the highest inflation rate since the 80s, highest fuel costs on record. And now we're about to raise interest rates to slow the economy, right? So the Fed has to raise interest rates to slow the economy, to slow inflation, right? By slowing their economy, they're going to slow the economy into a recession, which is going to slow inflation and bring inflation back down. But now we have high interest rates and we have, recession, right? And then we're in a housing bubble that anyone thinks that the housing market is going to continue to go up 40% a year is on drugs. It's going to pop. So my point is we're now I don't want anyone to get hurt, right? I'm sitting here waiting for the day. I've been talking about this day for the last 5 years. I've been saying like when the market crashes, again, Warren Buffett, big guy, huge. He says fortunes are made in bear markets, not in bull markets, right? So what you do, Gary V, right? You're Gary V guy.
Gary V, my boy, Vaynerchuk.
Listen,
I don't give a fuck.
Listen to what Gary V is talking about. He's like, I am hoarding money to wait for the crash because the crash is coming.
It's coming.
And when the crash comes, I'm gonna get ready because that's when I'm gonna make my money. because I'm going to go all in when it crashes, you know, and then when it comes back, my all in is going to 10 times my money, right? And that's what's going to happen. But I wonder what happens to the ball python market when that happens. You know,
Interesting.
You know, when people listen, it cost me $100 to fill my gas tank. I guarantee it costs you $100.
Oh, 120.
You know, yeah, $120. That's unbelievable, man. That's crazy.
We both drive trucks though, but at the same time, like that's insane that we have to pay more than $100 for a fucking tank of gas.
But
That's
I feel like
insane.
people are in the snake game. They ain't shit to us. I mean, I don't, because here at the end of the day, I never knew about snake money being monopoly money, and a lot of the shit I am buying right now is all snake and monopoly money.
I mean,
and I'm not. I mean, as much as I hate,
it's almost like investing in Bitcoin though. Like he's saying, it's so volatile.
Brian, I fill my wife's Range Rover up when I don't even drive a Range Rover.
Yeah.
Snake money.
Yeah.
You feel me? So what are you gonna do without gas? You can't do shit without gas.
No,
Absolutely.
but I'm just saying it just costs so much more. And
It does.
To normal people that might buy, let's say, you know, listen, to the ballers, it's balling money, right? You know, but to the guy that's like going to say, listen, I've been saving for a year to spend $5,000 on that snake.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden he can't spend $5,000 on that snake because he's got to spend $3,000 this year on gas. So now he can only spend $2,000. That affects its supply and demand, right?
But Brian, I started my first 5 snakes off them being $200 each.
Right.
And then they made me snakes that were $900 to $1,000.
Right.
So,
but you're also in the market when there was expansion of the market.
There was a big expansion.
Right.
When it
So
happened.
we've seen in the last 5 years
that expansion.
It can maintain expansion. Probably not.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
doesn't mean
Like,
it's going to
people
crash. And I'm not trying to tell people not to do it. I'm just saying that, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 years in the ball python market, because we saw what happened in the 2008, 2010 era with the ball python market. Everyone thought ball pythons were done. They thought it was over. Like, okay, the game's done.
I've heard it so many times though.
So how do people prepare for a crash as the ball python market? Like if you're in the ball python game, making a good, you're killing it. How do you prepare for a crash like that?
2 things. Number one, you put a bunch of ducats away, you know, and secondly, you invest in other things.
Can you put Bruce? Really, it's called silent. Bruce.
I just
Brian hasn't had one ding.
Yeah,
I guarantee he's dinging off.
God, I put it on silent. It just said silent mode.
18 dings.
It just said silent mode. I swear to God, it.
Jessica, he's good. He's fine.
It's literally her texting me too. Like you're literally talking to her right
we
now.
got the
No,
snakes.
because, I mean, I'm not going to say names, but there are people out there who I'm like, dude, homeboy's killing it. And you're like, well, it's not really feasible if he keeps living up this lifestyle and thinks he's going to keep making this money in the next 5 years.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think what's happening is that you know Justin's been around long enough. He's been in the ups and downs of things. He knows what's coming.
He's
and
so smart,
and he's a smart guy.
He lives in Georgia. Property not that expensive.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I wasn't going to give him that credit, but you know what? Let's go ahead and give him that credit.
But you have people now that are crushing it right now that have never been into a bear market in the ball python world, right?
Yeah, they're going to suffer.
And that's well, they may still do fine, but they're not going to be, you know, if you're making $1 million a year, you're probably not going to make $1 million a year for the next 5 years. You know, you might still make 500, which is still great money, but it's still half what you made. And I always tell people, you know, it hurts.
You almost have to slow it down. Yeah, you have to figure out that same sort of mindset of like, hey, I need to chill out.
Let's not fake the funk, man. I mean, I've been going off lately, Brian, and I know you're busy. I know you probably don't hear these podcasts, but yeah, I put you on a pedestal, or not even a pedestal, but I put you in a category of somebody who is up there with you with as many subscribers, as many followers, but does not have the same practices as you. Mm-hmm. And what that does to me, it pisses me off.
Right.
Because you are 2 people in my eyes where both people were talking shit. Like people were talking shit about both of you.
Yeah.
And you guys could put your mind together what I'm talking about, but I had people telling me, I had people tell me worry about this guy in LA. And then I had people tell me, do not go see this guy in Michigan.
Yeah.
And I saw that guy in LA and they were right. Yeah. Holy shit. What a terrible experience, which made me scared to meet this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, oh, man, like,
no.
Am I going to fucking not, am I going to like not idolize this guy anymore? Because what I just saw, and guess what? If I see something that does not make sense to me, I don't give a fuck who you are.
Yeah.
Like, you are being a piece of shit to this animal. And Brian, I went to your place and goddamn was I floored in a good way. But the guy who I'm not floored with is still technically not evolving, doesn't almost care. And like, bro, you have lack of sleep. You have lack of fucking time to do anything because how much you maintain this. And then you have somebody else who has just as big as a following, and he's not maintaining the animals like you are. And I feel like that has an effect on you.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it affects me personally. I mean, everyone does their own thing, but I think for me, everyone that knows me knows like everything that I do, and I talk finances and all this stuff. And I like to look at myself as a smart guy, a very business savvy guy. I learned to be business savvy because of the tragedies I've been through.
But you've evolved also.
But I've evolved tremendously. But everything that I do financially, just goes back into the animals for me, because that's all I care about. I don't care about having a fancy car or a fancy this or and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care. Like if you're out buying fancies, good for you. If that's what makes you happy, that's all that matters, right? I'm saying that's not what makes me happy. What makes me happy is when I get a call and there's some kick-ass animal and I can just go, I'll take it. And I don't give a shit about the money. That's what makes me happy. Or what makes me happy now, dude, is thinking about the enclosures I'm about to build for Elvis. You know what I mean? Like thinking about that. Like I'm going to put I've got a lizard that I paid $2,500 for that probably on the best day is worth $5,000. On his best day. And I'm going to put $50,000 into an enclosure for him. That's what makes me excited. That's what makes me excited.
Let me ask you something Brian. Like what if all of a sudden, and this is just like an out of the fucking loop fucking example, right?
Yeah.
And what if all of a sudden, and I talked to you about this, like I was like, Brian, how can I make my YouTube channel progress a little bit more? And you gave me, by the way, please follow Trap Clips and Steak Trap Sessions, my two new YouTube channels.
Yeah, you gotta check this out.
Which you told me that, and it made sense, right? But let's just say I was like, thanks, Brian, for that information, but I feel like live feeding videos is going to get me where I need to get at. And here's the thing. I'm talking showing rats getting wrapped up, and I'm commentating. Listen to the squealing. Like, listen to this.
Jesus, Mary.
You hear the last? wait till the last breath. It's pretty hard to accept, right? But let's just say,
that is hard. That is hard.
Finish Matthew Summers. But let me just say, I went fully hard on this, and I wanted your support.
I wouldn't support.
I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't. No, I really couldn't.
You understand that?
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying this is the same thing, but based off what I seen at one person's place, and then seeing the hard work, the team, Bruce, fucking Jay, Jessica, the list goes on. Bro, Brian, you put so much effort into what you love, and then you have somebody who's looked upon on the same level as you, putting not even close. I'm talking about making more money than you. This is just out of my thoughts. Making more money than you, but not even putting anything close to what you're putting back into the business. Like, that has to make you feel some sort of type of way.
It doesn't really,
I hope it feels pride though. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interject.
I want to hear what he has to say, because this means a lot to me.
No, to me, like, so I'm a guy that, and I think you know this about me. Like, I don't judge people at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have that in me where I like look at somebody and tell them what they should do and how they should do it. And that's just the way it is. I mean, the other thing about me is that I talk this all the time, is that I don't want other people to fail ever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want my enemies to fail.
Right. So if you saw me doing that, what would you would come to me like, hey, MJ.
Well, as a friend, I would, so if I was close to you like I am, of course I would be like, hey, bro, this is a bad look. This is something. And I've done this to other people, other friends of mine. I've went to them and said, hey, man, this is probably not a good idea. This is like, you should probably pull back. And this is why I think you should pull back on this. But if I don't have that relationship, I don't feel like I have the place to tell anyone anything. You know what I mean? It's like, you do your thing. I do my thing. I wish you the best.
But who else in your era is a part of this? Like Jay's, I mean, as much as you may not consider him as I just said his name, I don't give a shit. But like, that guy's a part of your era to where people like they relate you to him no matter what. Well, and I don't, because I came across you before I came across him.
I feel like
so I know what you are, and I know what he's pretending to be. And that's what makes me mad, because like I said, I had people from all over the woodworks telling me, don't go see Brian. Do not go see Brian. Don't do it. And after I saw what and I do blame Forrest. Because Forrest told me, hey, bro, this is typical. Just ignore it. He told me that shit. I'm like, did you see the mouth on that snake? Like, it's gone. It's fine, bro. It's fine. Just leave it. Fuck you, Forrest. Thanks a lot, bro. It's not fun. He doesn't do it.
We
But-
love you. We
I
love
love
you,
Forrest.
Forrest.
My Forrest.
Like, I just making
We
sure
all love
clear.
Forrest. Trust
All
me.
of
We all
you.
love Forrest. But I'm just saying, like, it's not. But Forrest was so used to that himself.
No, I totally get it.
He's
Yeah,
so
no.
used to, like, yo, not everyone's going to be able to maintain this shit.
Yeah.
And I wish Forrest was around to see the Reptarium, because I guarantee you would be like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
Well, like you've heard it from him straight from his mouth. Like he would always sit there and be like, "Well, this is what I would do." But
I looked at Forrest like, "Are you gonna relate with me on how upset I am?" And he was like, "No, like,
Yeah,
bro, let
I know it's
He's trying to
crazy.
tell me to let it go,
he was so used
and
to
I
it. He was so
can't
used
let
to
that
it.
go."
He said he was like you at first.
Well, of course, he's like, "Yeah, MJ, you remind me of myself 10 years ago, always caring about
Yeah,
the
he
small
was- he
things."
was- yeah, he
But
was
to
that
me,
Jay.
to this day, it's not a small thing,
Yeah.
because guess what? If I go to Tinley Park, I come by the Reptarium, because I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be that idiot to miss this.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Like, this is this is what I wish Forrest would see, so he
Yeah.
could be like, "Yo, fuck that! Don't let this guy get away with
And
this."
he only got a taste of it.
I mean, but
Yeah.
Forrest is like, I mean, we all know Forrest was brought into this of a level where he was just trying to keep up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And Forrest was Mr. Fucking, let me get the rarest of the rarest. And I mean, we all know Forrest was not perfect.
I love him to death.
He loved him
yeah.
to death. He was not perfect. Thank God for Stephen Cush.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Stephen Cush
Absolutely.
saved Cold Blooded Cafe and Reptech. It did.
Oh no! I fully agree.
100%.
absolutely.
Because Forrest got to the point where he just bought what he wanted to buy and just relied on Stephen to take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not okay. But that's why I'm like, it's not okay for somebody to even get more. And I will say clout, because Jay is on World Star. He's on all these fucking
Yeah.
goddamn platforms that it shouldn't be him, not him. Because guess what? Go to his place.
I've never been there.
Hit
but
record.
But I've
Go
heard,
to the
I've
breeder
heard
room.
Nothing
Watch
but
what
bad
happens.
rooms.
I'm just saying, it works me up because I make an effort to talk about Brian. Brian doesn't ask me to talk about him at all. I love talking about that. I'm friends with Brian, and people know that I am good in a relationship with Brian.
I don't
because-
think he considers me his like. I don't think he considers me his mentee, but I call him.
I don't
my
even know what the hell
mentor all
that
time.
means.
Mentor.
You are
mentee.
meant to
He's his
be.
mentor.
Yeah, mentee, mentor. Yeah. You never heard that?
You're here for a reason. Shut
Yeah.
up.
Fair enough.
No, but all with seriousness, I just feel like there's so many people that could get away with so much for so long, and Brian has avoided getting away with shit. Like, he's trying to put in the hard work. He'd rather go the long way around versus
Absolutely.
the shortcut.
Absolutely.
And shortcuts catch you up in this game, bro.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
the bottom line.
But I guess it's just all about, what your end goal wants to be, what legacy you want to leave behind. And
But
And,
okay, what is your end goal, Brian? Because I guarantee I could ask Jay, he can't tell me. But what is your end goal? I
end
want to
goal-
know.
Honestly, it's very simple. It's not as extravagant as you probably think it is. It's just literally when my time is done here, whether I live another 40 years, and by the way, I'll never retire ever, right? Never. I mean, the day that I die will be the day I retire, or I can't physically work or mentally work or something on that line. I mean, I talk to my financial advisor all the time, and she always talks to me about retirement and this and that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking want to retire. Like what do you think? Like what would I ever want to retire for?
Fucking
Now,
go
and
bowling.
don't get me wrong,
This guy
Imagine him
golfing.
playing fucking
You
chess.
see him golfing?
Yeah.
Brian, oh, he's playing chess out there in the park.
Yeah, no, I mean, retirement to me is death. I mean, retirement is death. I wouldn't. I mean, I couldn't handle doing that. And I mean, I love like Clive Peeling, let's say, that owns a reptile zoo in Reptiland in Pennsylvania.
That's
Dude's
Ari.
like, yeah, Replandia. I mean, these Dallas World Aquarium. These guys are like, I want to be the owner of a really impressive reptile zoo / aquarium / penguin house / whatever I end up
Penguins.
having.
Penguins. Hell yeah.
Penguins. But
Goddamn
fucking
penguins.
penguins.
Oh
Who
my God.
says that?
Oh.
Who has the reptiles that this guy has? And says, by the way, penguins are coming.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
penguins
Are
are
you
good.
kidding me? I'll drop
But,
every monitor I work with.
I
and
love it,
That's
though,
what
Brian.
penguins.
But
Hold on, before you finish, Brian, like, you are goddamn planning an Aquarius. Like as much as you could be comfortable with reptiles, you're not, like, you want more than that.
Yeah.
The aquarium
Well,
on the second floor.
Yeah.
Watch water
Right, the
above.
engineering structure that
We'll
he's going to
talk
go
about that in a
over.
second.
Construction person's so
But I
bored.
mean, the fact that you just want more.
Well, what it is this is where I was going with it, is that when I'm done with whatever this life has to offer, I just want to leave a legacy behind that says that guy loved animals so much that he spent his entire life, every minute of every day, on getting other people to love animals.
Is that your
Period.
drive?
That's what drives me every day.
The man
Every day.
aspires like literally everyone that works around him on a daily basis, and he still drives to get to that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's-
you know,
And,
gets
and
that
honestly,
place.
Brian, like, I mean, I don't work for you. Like, I mean, I've only seen you while you're here, but I've been a manager of a big fucking corporation. I know how to like kind of see people through how they act while other people are here. And I just see you treating your employees with nothing but respect. Like,
Yeah, well,
and
listen,
I
you
feel
know,
like
I mean,
you keep up to that.
Well, the thing is that I realize that I can't live the life I live without my crew. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you know, obviously Bruce does amazing things with the stuff here, but you know, let's talk about Jessica for a second. I've
please.
said this to her point blank. I've said like the day Jessica leaves would be the day I would stop breeding reptiles. You know, like, I mean, that's how important she is to our company. I mean, Jessica is like the number one.
That's gonna be your
most
fault if she
important
leaves.
thing.
That's your fault.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. If she leaves, it is 100% my
But
fault.
okay, with that being said, I was gonna bring this up, but all the employees you've had in your days.
Yeah.
And you know,
yeah.
no,
Oh my God. Yeah.
And Brian's been able to read through motherfuckers. Like, you know, like there's been certain people I felt a way about, and he's like, no. But you have Bruce and you have Jessica. Do you feel like it's destined? Like it's destiny?
Well, right now we have a really, yeah, I think.
And
So,
you got Mike too. Shout out to him, you big Mike.
oh no,
Oh,
well,
dude,
there's-
Big Mike, Mountain
there's-
Dew Mike.
He's
No,
like-
you can.
wait, you want me in the picture?
No,
What's
you
up, guys?
You can go down the list of everyone that works here. Ashley, Beth. I mean, the list goes on and on about the people that are so crucial. And I've never. So the thing is that a lot of that has to do with you know the way we've tried to hire people now, the way we try to manage people and stuff like that. And what I believe in is that you do your best you can do to put a person into a position that they can succeed, and then you let them try to do it by themselves. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, I think that when somebody is taking their own initiative to achieve, there's an amount of satisfaction that comes with that. Like, I'm doing something and I'm not being told to do it, but I do it on my own. And so that's how we run everything here. You know, Lori's a little bit more of a micromanager than I am. I'm as far away from a micromanager as you can get. I like I said, I don't want to put. I mean, honestly, like with Bruce, let's say there's certain areas that if I had Bruce cleaning colubrids, he would fail at that. You
Okay,
know what I mean?
well, hold on, Brian.
You know?
No, I think I honestly. think
I want to
he's
take something back real quick because I'm kind of an asshole on this one.
Go ahead.
Bruce, you weren't supposed to be on this episode. It was supposed to be Lori. And this is prior to me even Lori knowing that she could do it. And only because Lori, and you will say Lori likes me. And
Lori loves you, actually.
And Lori stays in communication with me.
Yeah.
So Lori has not been in communication with me the last couple texts.
Yeah.
So I just assumed she's cool with doing the podcast. But then she was like, MJ, I'm sorry, I've been busy. I love you, but I'm in Grand Rapids and I'm taking care of my grandkid. And I'm like, you know what? She texts back. I'll take it. I'll switch it. No problem. But here I am. And the first thing Brian breaks his heart about is how he does not have Lori. And I'm like, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Bruce, I'm happy you're here. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But Lori would have made this way hotter.
Honestly, like I fully agree with you.
Lori would have been,
As
Lori.
much as it disappoints me,
But do
at
you
the same
realize
time-
what Lori's done to my own wife's vision? Like,
That's
she
not-
gets it. Like,
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, I met my wife when I had a drug addiction. Like, I had a whole lifestyle that I didn't want no more. And I tried convincing her, hey, listen, I don't want to sell drugs no more. But she kept catching me selling drugs.
Yeah.
And so eventually, as I was like, you know, doing these things like traveling and stuff like that, Lori was the first one to whatever they talked about, which I don't know to this day, to maybe set in the mindset and where Lily was like, yo, I want to help you now.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is that you're doing, I want to help you whatever I can.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Lori is that, you know, I've been so fortunate with Lori because she's followed my vision her whole life, right?
Right.
And that's the other thing that is really important to me when it comes to my staff, you know, is that I always say there's only two things I care about. I care about my animals being cared for, and I care that you care you believe in my vision, period. You believe in my vision, because my vision is to create. Listen, you know, I know that I always am careful when I say this because it sounds very arrogant. You know, I want to be the Walt Disney of animals and reptiles. That's what I want to be. I want to create the vision that I can create an experience that you cannot get anywhere else in the world.
Basically, shit that nobody has the balls to do.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
That's hard to do.
No one would ever have thought about opening up a reptile zoo where 80% of the animals can come out for a fucking 3-year-old.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
no one's going to do that. You know, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it, and
We
that's
do
the
it
next
all the
thing.
time.
Yeah, and now every day,
Every
and now
goddamn
the
day.
next thing is I want to create an aquarium where people can do things they can't do else. I want, the penguin house to me isn't about, going and seeing a penguin or even being in the same room with a penguin. It's about you sitting on the ground with your legs crossed and a penguin jumping on your lap.
Are you?
Yes.
Let me finish, Matthew.
Easy.
Are you
Matthew.
accepting sponsorships for names of the penguin? Like if I gave you 2K,
Yeah,
name it MJ.
we could probably work it out.
Okay.
If you continue to actually name your monitor Bruce, I
mean,
that-
because
that could be
if
work.
I will say something, I mean, I do see that there are certain people that sponsorship certain
Yeah.
enclosures.
Yeah.
And is that something you're shooting for, or like how's it? Because shout out to Ari Flagel, but Ari Flagel's opening up Reptilandia.
Yeah, looks great.
Oh, I want to go there so
Guess
bad.
what I was able to sponsor? Don't get mad at me, but guess what I was able to sponsor?
What?
The Komodo dragon enclosure.
What? Are you kidding me? You
Makes no sense
bastard.
unless you know, right?
You bastard. You bastard. I want to say so much jokes right now, but I'm not going to say them till later.
I mean, yeah. Well, this is
So
wait,
is he going to able to get a Komodo then?
he's getting one. No, 100.
Oh,
It's already
no
for sure.
shit.
Yeah, really.
I read
He's
that.
getting
How
one.
did he
I'm
get
out,
I
I'm
read
out.
to Landy.
How did he get around?
All I can say is a certain zoo hatched it and is sending it to him.
Wow,
That's all I know.
That's so cool,
Yeah,
dude.
and that I'm flying out in 2 weeks so I can hold it while it's little and I get
Yeah.
to do my thing with it.
That's awesome.
But
Good
I
for
mean,
him.
how are you accepting people who want to like maybe sponsor something that you're doing? I mean,
that's really
'cause people
Lori's
support
thing.
you.
Yeah, that's really Lori's thing. To be honest with you, like I don't get involved in the sponsorships of anything. I don't
so
even
it's
know.
all
what's-
through Lori.
Yeah. I don't even know what. As a matter of fact, just today, someone asked me what it costs to sponsor. I didn't even know. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about it. I just don't know.
But Bugatti out of your pocket, how much to sponsor Bugatti?
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
For
Uh,
you,
a sticker
2,500.
Yeah. But again, the other thing you got to think about is that we're talking about this expansion being $4.5 million. So
And how many
So-
floors?
it'd be three floors total, and
Is that including where BHB is at right now?
that's including where BHB's. Yeah.
So if we were to try to like outline things, BHB would be what? Like once this is complete, the bottom floor would be what? Second floor and then third floor.
So we're
Talk
BHB's floor, what we call the dungeon is going to be we're going to be calling the dig site. So it'll be about 4,000 square foot of a area where kids can come and dig for fossils. They can sift for fool's gold.
Literally, I'll be there the
I
whole
wanna
time.
do that.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm an adult 32-year-old man, and I still want to do
Yeah.
that.
It'll be,
Same page.
you can like get a geode and crack a geode, all the stuff you would do. Like, listen, well, this is the thing, right? Is that I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a kid. I
Same.
wanted to work with reptiles as a kid, and I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was a kid. So do you think that there's any coincidence that I want to open an aquarium, have an archological type of dig site, and have a
Absolutely.
reptile zoo?
Absolutely, bro.
Right. And that's what I always say. Hey, Mike. I always say that.
I didn't know he
wanna-
was still here.
I always say I wanted to build the place that little Brian wanted to go and spend all his life.
Dude,
That's what it is. And I'm a 52-year-old kid that still is chasing the same dream, and if I make and I think that's where I go back to the Walt Disney thing. And I was as a person, I've heard terrible things about Walt Disney, as the way he treated people and all the other things.
We
But
all heard
his vision was amazing, right? I mean, he was a guy that did things that seemed impossible. He created, I always say you go to Disney, and I love Disney, by the way. You go to Disney and they will extract every penny. They'll take next month's mortgage payment from you, and you leave and you want to do it again.
Right.
You still want to do it
where's-
again.
What's that club? There's a club in Disney. I forget what's it's called.
oh, the Mickey Mouse Club.
Right. Club 23. And I think you have to drop at least a minimum of 20K.
Yeah.
No shit. Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Like you have to like throw that up front and then they give you like a card and you're a part of this club.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean shit.
You get fancy dinners.
Like fancy dinner, but what?
Like you get
traveling
the
or
little
what?
Mickey Mouse ears on your shit, like everywhere you go.
But that's what I'm saying is that I want to create experiences that are amazing, and again the experiences that little Brian wanted to go to as a kid, and that's why BHB. So anyways, That's the thing. Where BHB top floor is right now, that'll be part of the Reptarium. The wall comes to the part of the Reptarium. The front wall of the building, basically this wall that we're looking at right to our left, is going to get pushed out 16 foot.
So
closer.
this will be further back.
This particular one upstairs will be
Okay.
upstairs will be 16 feet closer to the road. So we gained essentially about 2,000 to 2,500 square foot in the front of the building. We gained about 4,000 square foot in the BHB upstairs for the reptile zoo. That's reptile zoo. Then we have 4,000, 4,500 square foot of the dig site, and then we have the entire top floor covers the entire what the expansion is for
2,500 square feet. Jesus Christ.
So I'm sure at some point, Brian, like especially back when people talk about how you invest in, how much was it that you invested on that albino back like when you were 18? You dropped
$3,200 a pair for a pair of albino Burmese pythons.
which technically for an 18-year-old back then
I
is
was
like
17.
comparable to like
I was
13K.
Yeah, I was 17 at the time. Yeah.
But there had to be a point in time, and I'm only talking from experience, where people wanted to come with you with investment ideas.
Oh, I've had a million people.
So how do you delegate those? Because like
How do you know what's good?
I have
and
my
what's
like
right?
here. Okay, shout out to my boy. First time I'm ever saying this publicly. Shout out to my boy Lawrence, one of my best friends. We used to call him. His name was El Sham, but we used to call him Jew Sham because how good he was with his money.
Yeah.
Like he's so good with
Very
his
good
money.
with money.
Like I'm talking about the best, right? So for him being who he was throughout all these years of knowing, and he comes to me saying, "MJ, like I fucking love what you're doing. Like I want to invest in you."
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna lie, dude. Those 2 bell phases, he bought one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm in a position where I'm like, I told him I never worked with these monitors. I don't know if I could breed them, but all I could tell you is that once this bell phase gets to an adult, it will be X amount of worth this money.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, I'll either buy it off you or I will like make it work,
absolutely.
But how did you ever approach investments back in your time? I mean, or even to
Yeah,
this day, if somebody wants to invest something with you, how does that work?
I usually stay away from people giving me money that has any kind of partnership. Forrest once said that. Did you ever hear Forrest?
I actually heard this very
Yeah,
same
he
thing.
said
yeah.
he said the
Only ship that sells
does-
is a friendship.
no,
Or-
the only ship
so
that
that's-
doesn't sail is a partnership.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've totally heard this
that
one.
was
Yeah.
it, yeah.
But then he seeked for him.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, cough.
And
cough.
I don't do a lot of partnerships. Obviously, Animal Con, we partnered up with Brian and Bob. But everything else, I've had people come to me because again, it's $4 million plus to do this expansions. I've had people come to me and ask me if they wanted to invest $2 million, be a part of it.
And you just deny him,
and
or
I've
what?
just said no. I've just said no. I'll do it myself. I'll get it done. In the end of the day, I just don't want to answer to anyone because sometimes my ideas can get crazy. You know what I mean? And I can be like,
Absolutely.
hey, I
understand
want to
that.
do something that I don't want to have to go to someone else and them say no to. The only person that I have to get approval from is Lori. And that's
I bet Lily loves hearing that one.
yeah.
Oh my God, I
And,
can't imagine
but it
what
makes
Lily's
sense,
going
though.
to give
It
you
is-
on the way home.
There's people out there who even non-snake people tell me don't get married, something about the
Oh,
girl,
yeah.
right? But it's like, yo, bro, your situation's not my situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Lori and Brian is a very unique meant to be situation.
and
I feel
Jessica have been married for 10 years.
and I feel like me and Lily too. I feel like no matter what whore cheated on you, don't compare that to my girl.
yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because I feel
my
like we're
reptile
thriving.
bitch is fucking awesome.
But I love the fact that you just say that no matter what major move you make is made through with Lori
100%.
because
I never, we joke.
she
like,
stuck with you through
I
all
think
this
that,
shit.
on the
Absolutely.
vlog and stuff like that,
Cool
we
as
always
shit.
play Lori up to be against everything. And
Well, Lori means business, and you know that.
Yeah.
She don't
But
fuck around.
Lori,
Bottom line.
there's never a time that I make a decision that Lori hasn't approved it. Never a time.
Well, then how come you don't let her know when I'm coming to town?
She knew about that. She knew. No,
She knew about that because months prior. But let's just say, let's say,
also, you said it.
no, check this out. Brian would never put. I hope not, but he would never put me in a place where I'm in a bad position with Lori.
No.
But the last time I was here was fucking Father's Day, and
Yeah.
I should have known. But Lori wanted us at the lake for Father's Day.
Yeah.
Let's not have Brian working.
Yeah.
And what happened that day? Lori went to the fucking lake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she-
no.
But
I remember. I actually
Brian
remember
stayed
that
back.
day.
He's like, bro, I'm not leaving you, man. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, I feel so
I
bad.
remember that day because the Monday she came back, we were all under the fucking goddamn grill.
She wanted her
she
fucking
was,
husband.
she was so pissed.
But Brian, I gotta admit, bro, Jesus, I don't know, man. I just feel like the passion you have is like you just don't want to let anything by. Like especially if you feel like if you could get a point across, you do not want that opportunity to miss you.
No. Well, the thing is that most people in life have a very hard time knowing what they want to do, right? They go through most of their life.
Most and everybody. Yeah, probably everybody.
Most everyone is like kind of, I've been fortunate from a very young age to have laser focused drive, right? What I've got one responsibility in life, and that's all I care about, you know? And there's nothing else. There is nothing else, right? Like there's not like a hobby. There's not a, maybe one day I'll do this. Maybe I'll go do, there's none of that. You know, I'm not into cars. I'm not into sports. I'm not into, you know, I don't care about anything. I'm into one thing and one thing only, you know, and that's, it's a blessing and a curse. I look at more as a blessing, right? Is that I only have to worry about one thing, period. That's it. Now it might be very complicated and there might be a lot of facets and a lot of clogs in that wheel, but it's all one vision. And the vision just leads me in one direction. And that's all I have to do. So if you think about it, it's a very simple life in that sense. Like it may be complicated to run my life, but it's simple in the fact that, you know, I'm not doing YouTube, you know, like gaming challenges on YouTube, you know, different. I'm doing reptiles. I'm doing. Is that
animals. Why you avoid shows, just to keep your shit as simple as possible? Because like how it needs to be.
Right. You know, I mean, the thing is that,
because one bad show can make things go off rail. Like I mean, like one little fucking weird situation, which I mean, you told me stories of a 14-year-old coming up with his mom, all happy to take a picture, and then they use this picture against you.
Yeah, that
has to have some more effect on your mental state.
Well, you know, I mean, certainly, I'm sure it does, but I think for the most part, for me, it's just a time management thing more than anything. You know, I cut everything possibly out of my life that I don't absolutely need. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and that's why I don't do anything other than work. You know, that's why I don't have a social life. That's why I don't really have friends that I hang out with. I don't have, you know, like, I mean, anything that's going to cause me anything other than being able to do what I do, then I cut it out of my life. You know what I mean? Family is super important to me. And I love the fact that I get to work with my son every single day, more so than ever. And we're, you know, super, you know, as a matter of fact, the only thing that, you know, I think I might've did I tell you that we're starting a new channel, me and Noah?
Oh yeah, Dad Adventures.
Dad Adventures, yeah.
No shit. Which I will say, okay, here's the thing, man. Dude, my boy Noah is obviously under the work pressure.
Dude, he really is.
Because he's like, I mean, like the fact that he was in LA, he didn't tell me. He was like, yo, MJ, just so you know, I was in LA for less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, next time you're in Cali, you better, like, Noah's somebody I want to pick up from the airport. Yeah. I want to be there for Noah. Yeah. Like, I fucking love Noah. Dude. I got him a slice of pizza. I wasn't even hungry. I don't care. That's my boy. Like, the fact that Noah will text me back makes me feel special. Well, dude, I love Noah. Like, I love him.
He doesn't text me back, by the way.
So absolutely same. Like, so what? Like through his whole comedy venture, I told him straight up, like if you're within 30 minutes of me, let me know. We'll come. We'll watch every.
He went to LA to do one, and I was like, dude, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like.
I probably what like I don't even know if you know, but like I've probably seen like 5 or 6 of his bits, like every time, like and like I this is why I consider him a good friend, because like we'll go have a couple drinks, but it's not that big a deal. Like we don't have to do it every day. We can do it every couple weeks. We can do it every.
But I also feel like Noah's in a stage of his life where like who knows what he wants to be in the next couple of years.
Absolutely,
he's so young.
I think he's starting to figure it out now, and he's becoming a bigger part of what we do here, and he's
killing it with monitors.
Yeah, he's
I mean, I feel like Noah's. Here's the thing, like Noah. I feel like even when he was doing his thing in the beginning, like he always had like an alter ego or something. Yeah. Like, you know, like now Noah's wanting just to do things under Noah.
Yeah.
And what's cool is like this fool's putting in hours of editing because it's just him.
Yeah.
You know, and Jay's doing it too, but like
that's what he does best.
Huge part. So I asked him, I was like, no, I was like, how many hours have you spent in front of a computer? He's like, I don't know. I was like, well, I could tell you 4. Me, he's like, dude, I go like 12, 13.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, that's fucking nuts, bro.
No, he's really good at at editing, and you know, Jay's really good at editing as well. But the team together, like,
you think they complement each other?
They're unbelievably great together. Absolutely. I mean, they're really great together, and they're a great team, and it works out great because Jay can put together a really nice structure of a vlog, and then Noah can come in and make that structure into a phenomenal vlog. Like really, really good. You know, he has the insight. Listen, anyone can edit.
Right.
But can you story tell in an edit?
That's
the
can you
hard
break
thing.
it down for people?
Yeah. Can you make so Jay says this all the time, and he's so true, is that you can only film so much, but the edit is what makes a video good or bad. You know, that's what makes a video good or bad. And you're never, it's like an artist says, right? You know, I mean, you've heard artists say, you know, the work is never done. You just stop, you know, you just give up. You know, it's like you can always make art better, but you finally just get to a point where you're saying, this is as far as I can go. I've got to move on to my next project or something like that. Right. That's how editing is, right? But the thing that's nice is that now Jay gets it to a point where he's done and he hands it off to Noah, and Noah works it till he's done, you know, and it's
so it goes
sometimes
through mastering twice.
Right. It goes, exactly. And sometimes it's amazing. I'll see Jay's thing and I'll be like, wow, this is a really good video. And then I see Noah's edit and I'm like, holy shit, this is a really good video. And so I'm really fortunate, but at the same time, it's also time to get back to Noah a little bit. And when I talk about my social life and not being able to, you know, really hang out and do anything, you know, Noah wants to start this new channel called Dad Ventures, and it would be me and him doing fun things together. And I want to not only support him,
so cool.
but I also
that
think
has
it'll
to
be
make you
great
feel
to
good
me.
that your son wants you to be a part of something like that. I mean, because I mean, you've given enough path for Noah to kind of do his own thing if he wanted to.
So I actually want to throw my perspective out there a little bit on Noah, because like, you know, like especially with the Noah and Jay team, like every now and then, like he was saying, like me and Mike will come up with an idea and then we'll run it by him. Like the first people we run by is Jay and Noah before we even mention it to Brian. And a lot of times, dude, I'm telling you, I'll walk down in this room. They don't even hear me. They are so in sync. And like, they'll even be talking back and forth. Like, oh, like this, that. I'll be like, hey, can you guys hear me now? Okay, great. I was trying to tell you something. I was trying to tell you something.
You say that in a quiet ass hallway too.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
Oh
It
yeah,
scares
I'm sorry.
me.
I do that when I'm in big areas. Like, ha!
Hang on a second here. Hang on a second.
Who's this?
Oh, it's Brian Potter.
Who you got? Brian Potter?
Hey, you're live with MJ.
BP Trap Talk with MJ, Brian.
What's up, buddy?
Dude, hey, listen, hey,
Good to see you this weekend.
hey, what an amazing Tinley weekend, my man.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you letting us in.
Fucking Brian Potter, you killed it.
Yeah, we had a little good time this weekend. It was a good one, huh?
Well, guess what? October, Brian Barczyk will be at that Tinley. Guarantee it.
Yep, I'm coming.
It's happening.
Beautiful. We'll be telling everybody about the event we just got done having and how rocking that was.
Exactly. We're going to crush it, man, in August. We talked about it a bunch, so it's good stuff. So I just saw your text. I saw I missed you, so I figured I'd call.
Cool, I just want to say hey to you guys. I knew you were on tonight, MJ, and I want to say hey to everybody.
Hey,
you,
Brian,
brother.
guess what? I got a plug on a bunch of black fucking dildo penises for Daytona. Be ready.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and by the way, Brian, I was telling these guys that I don't, just so you know, publicly, I've said that I don't do partnerships, but you're the only guy. You and Bob are the only people that I would feel comfortable in partnership with. So I appreciate you tremendously.
Fucking
and
Brian Potter, baby.
Yeah,
Excludes us all.
No. I'm just saying that that's how much I feel about you. So I really appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that, man. We know each other a long time, and it's
Respect.
crazy. We're a bunch of old geezers now.
I know, but we're about to crush it, man. We're going to dent the universe with this event, dude.
I love it. I can't wait. All right, guys. I'll let you guys do your thing. Guess where I am? I'm at Sushi with Robin Markman.
Tell
I'm
Robin.
surprised.
Ooh.
Hey, Brian Potter.
Sushi
Brian Potter.
again.
Hey, Brian, you're the Eddie Murphy of the U.S. Arc auctions. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, boy.
All right. Tell Robin I said, hey, man.
Robin,
right?
you're the man.
Guys, have a good night.
See ya.
Dude, okay, how iconic, okay? Because you got to admit, Brian fucking Potter, all right?
It's
and
the
his
man,
partner,
dude.
Bob Ashley.
He's the man.
But here's the thing. As much as these guys are the man doing their things, what's happening in Orlando in August? Let's talk about it.
That's Animal Con USA, baby.
And partnering up, you have Bob Ashley and Brian Potter backing
so
you up
excited
on
about
this.
this.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
so
Dude,
mad
what the
excited about
fuck?
this.
You ready?
I'm so mad excited.
Yeah,
about
it's going to
this.
be good.
I can't even tell you. Like he gives me 2 weeks of vacation. I'm taking every single one of them at this point.
But honestly, Brian, like, okay, listen, I will say that there are animal influencers I'm not happy about. So, like, no, you can't judge anyone doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, how are you going to approach this conference?
It's a little bit, it is a little tricky, and we've talked a lot about, you know, like the controversial, because there's going to be some controversial people that will be there too. You know, I mean, we're not,
100%.
you know, I don't want to exclude anybody. You know, I want everybody to have the opportunity, and there's a couple names that we talked about, you know, internally about what we felt about, like, is it a smart idea to do it? And there's maybe one or two people, quite frankly, that we did exclude, you know, that were just for reasons that made sense, that were a little bit overkill on things. But for the most part, even the people that maybe I don't have a closest relationship with, or maybe haven't had the best opinion of me publicly or even privately, I put all those behind, and I want to make a great event.
Who is it? What is this event trying to attract? If you could kind of tell
We're trying
us,
to attract. So basically what it is think about it this way. You know, there's never been an opportunity for fans of animal people to go to a place to see all the people they watch on YouTube, all the people they follow on Instagram, all the people they follow on TikTok, everybody from fish to reptiles to bugs to birds to mammals. And so we're working really hard to accomplish that goal.
God, that's such a badass idea. Like I like from the day you brought it up, bro. Like I
But
still to this day, I'm
the one
just
thing that
like,
makes me
dude, such
happy.
a cool thought, man.
I don't feel good about it unless he's throwing it.
Right? No, I
Like
agree.
the fact
I
that
agree.
Brian's the one masterminding all this, inviting the people.
I mean, this is the guy that bring it together.
and they
This is the guy
collabing
that
with
bring it
people
together.
like Bob Ashley. And I will say, dude, Tinley, there are people who are vending who couldn't get rooms at that fucking Holiday Inn because Bob Ashley had all that shit sold out.
Oh shit.
So I mean, but at the end of the day, it's because all those places were for people who were the day ones. So I'm just saying this could possibly start something huge.
Dude,
because it's
oh my God.
bro. What's
Can you
one thing?
imagine, though?
What's one thing this industry needs more of? We need more Tinleys. We need more Daytona. We need more Daytonas.
We need more community.
But
more community.
But what's building this community? It's the influencers.
Right. And absolutely. These
but my
guys
thing
right
is,
here.
Brian, it's like, dude, you don't have a lot of good influencers. That's my own problem. I don't say everyone agrees about that, but you have people that I don't think are, I mean, A, nearly experienced as you, but B, don't give a fuck and want to be sensational.
Yeah.
And here you are.
They're not great representation.
You play that part. And you know, Brian, there's times where I even feel like click on a thumbnail of yours that's like, God damn, I'm scared.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's relatable,
right?
But it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'll bring this up. Stephen Cush was so butthurt about you taking.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Was it salt?
She's gonna hate it because I did it again.
Well, but who cares? But in my eyes, okay, check this out. Let's say it was me buying my dog food, and I see this guy out of nowhere, not telling people to touch it, but yo, here's my animal. Like, it's just an example not to be fucking freaked out about.
Well, so we did Salt to PetSmart again to buy a harness for it.
About 3 times now.
Oh, you mad, Stephen Cush? You mad? I'm just
so a couple things. So anyway, so I went there and literally there was like 25, 30 people that like came up and literally. There's literally like 25, 30 people that came up and literally held Salt, were blown away, like, oh my God, this is about. I mean, it was like every person in the place came up. It was amazing. Little kids came up, pet her, stuff like that. So this was the thing I was. So it did. Listen, I love Steven a tremendous amount, and I love Des beyond belief. It was a little bit of a bummer that he talked publicly out about that to me, and I did.
He could have hit you up directly.
Yeah, no, he could have. But the thing I don't understand is still.
Steven, I love you.
We love you.
But still,
we got that deal still, right? God damn it. I'm fucking myself right now.
Never gonna have another scrub again.
But MJ, the thing I don't understand is I still don't know why he was upset about it. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, what was the idea behind it?
It was the sensational part, like the fact that you're going to Petco. Like, why are you going to Petco? Like, and with people like McCurley and other people doing surgical, like outlandish shit. Like, I feel like he didn't think you needed to do that.
But I guess I don't understand what that means, though.
But it is tame. It is very tame.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, did he have a problem? I went to a big box store or went to a pet shop?
That you basically
went in public.
The public was basically endangered based off your.
Why would they be endangered, though? I mean, like, that's what I don't understand. That's what
because you're in a Petco with a fucking alligator. Well, why are you in a Petco with an alligator? I know why, but like to Kush, he's like, why are you there?
Well, but my whole point is why would you, if you took your pit bull to Petco, are you evil?
A pit bull, dude, my pit bull, I don't take, I do not take my pit bull to fucking Petco. I will take Salt to Petco all day. And he's right. And here's the thing. Did you take Pepper to Petco?
No,
No.
absolutely
No.
not.
Did you take
Absolutely.
fucking
That's what
RJ
I would
to
actually
Petco?
be terrified. if you
No,
did
No,
that, yeah.
you took the most calm individual,
Yeah.
and I would take Delilah to Petco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would take
honestly,
it, I would not take it.
Fucking shout to Indy. God bless
But
Indy.
but that was my point.
it
Is
makes
that it
sense.
was a weird thing, and again, I love Steven and I think the world of what he does, and he's a great guy. But it was a bummer that he thought that what I did was wrong, because I didn't see anything I did wrong there. And if he did have a problem with it, I wish he would have called me up and said, "Hey, I think you shouldn't have done this," and maybe we could have had a conversation about it. But I still to this day feel so confident in my opinion that it only did good things. It didn't do negative things, that I did it again.
Well, if I can speak
literally
for
just
him,
did-
I could that he's not so confident the way he originally addressed. Because I can tell you right now, Steven, I'm speaking for Steven. I'll
Yeah.
say right now, he thinks you don't like him.
Oh, that's not
And,
true
and,
at
and
all.
I'm like, yo, bro,
No.
regardless how
No.
you first approached Brian on why you don't think he don't like you, he does not give a shit. He's
Yeah.
cool with you.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
he's
no, no,
like,
I'm
"Man,
not
I'm
hope he
saying-
doesn't
no,
think the
it,
same
no,
about
no, no,
me.
no.
Bruce, shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
you're
I said,
Bruce. You're
like
good.
honestly,
Holy
I
shit.
think the reason I was bummed is this is what I always tell people. It's like, I'm bummed when someone I like has a negative opinion. I don't give a fuck if someone I don't like has a negative opinion.
Yeah, I
Right.
get that.
So you see what I'm saying? So I like Steven a tremendous
Well,
amount. I
let's
always
say, let's
have
say you
liked
did
him.
give a
bugs me.
fuck
That
about
bugs
people
me,
you
yeah.
didn't give a fuck who gave an opinion about you. You wouldn't be here.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I feel like the biggest thing I take from you, Brian,
Mhm.
is that you really care about what matters.
Well, no, it
And
is,
you told
right?
me,
Yeah.
you told me. Remember when you told me like, yo, I'm kind of like thrown out in the loop that Steven would do this.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck what anyone has to say to me. But
Right.
if you say it,
Yeah.
Steven says it.
Right. That's
I'm-
what I've
I'm
said
gonna
is
pay
when my
attention to it.
when my
Yeah.
friends say something negative, it hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
When people I don't care about say something, I don't give a shit. That's their problem, not my problem. And so, no, I hope Steven understands that I think the world of him. I think that, he's a great guy. And I think that what he's done, listen, we all know Forrest had his problems, but, I love that man as much as anybody on this
Absolutely.
planet.
But a lot of
And,
Steven's problems are Forrest's problems.
Right. Yeah.
So Steven has his stress, his chip on his shoulder, whatever he has, because what Forrest laid on his ass.
Yeah. No. And that's what I'm saying is like, without Steven, Forrest wouldn't have gotten as far as he got.
Oh,
probably.
110%.
And
110%.
so I have a tremendous amount. And listen, Steve's a young guy,
Very young.
and to have that motivation and that drive that he has had, it's very impressive. And so from day one, I've always liked the guy because of that. I think if I had a critique, and if Steven's watching, I'll give him this critique. It's like, don't take yourself so seriously.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
That's a good point.
You
Honestly,
know,
no,
dude.
that's a valid point. I mean, like, I love Steve to death.
But
you
why
guys
Steven?
know.
Steven, because he takes himself that serious.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
really does.
Steven beats himself up. I tell Steven all the time, but bro, loosen the fuck up.
Dude, slouch a little.
Right.
Slouch a
Like, you don't have to
little,
be
bro.
fucking like you don't have football gear on.
You know what I mean?
But at the end of the day,
Like we get it. You look great, bro.
But why
you
did
look
but,
great.
but why did Forrest approach Steven?
Yeah.
Because the way Steven was.
He's a stud.
And
dude.
now
He's
what?
an
Guess
absolute
what?
stud.
Forrest ain't around.
Yeah.
So guess what? All the pressure's on Steven. And I love Desiree.
And he stepped up though. He stepped
I love
up.
Desiree, but Desiree is dealing so much on the back end where she's not on the forefront,
Yeah.
dealing with the rodents, dealing with the fucking reptiles.
Right.
And it's like what Brian says. I do fear for Steven's sanity
Yeah.
at this
Yeah, you
point
just gotta-
because
you
we're
just
going
gotta-
through
so much.
We're
on his
going on
shoulders,
what 2 years
right.
since he's died? 2 years since
Yeah,
Forrest died,
just past 2 years.
and everything's under Steven right now. Desiree, I love you to death, but everything is under Steven right now. And Steven is somebody so important to this hobby. I mean, think about it. I was about to ask you this, Brian. I mean, what would life be without Bruce?
Yeah.
Bruce is a fucking destined to you.
Right. Yeah.
Like, but at the end of the
Wait,
day,
actually, no. I'm sorry.
Let me finish. Can I
gonna-
finish?
Well, good.
God is good.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
good.
And regardless if you believe in God or not, I feel like God put places in people's laps
Right.
for a reason.
Sure.
And I feel like you are Brian Steven to Steven's Forrest.
Right. Right.
But Brian's still alive. Thank God. He's not
Yeah.
a fucking
So
you know,
far.
right.
No.
So the
But I'm
only,
saying though, like now there's no like imagine there was no Brian and Lori came to you like you're now Brian.
right. Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of. That would be hard.
Steven is now Forrest, but he's not Forrest. He's not spending the money like Forrest. Steven is the best thing to happen to RepTech.
Yeah. He's
Right,
pretty
yeah.
frugal.
No, dude, Steven is so smart.
Yeah.
Like it
He's
took a
the
lot
best.
for me to get sponsorship from Cold Blooded. Thank you. No, but I'm saying is like, how are you prepared to lose somebody like Bruce?
Well, let's hope it doesn't happen.
No,
you know,
better
I mean,
not.
it's like, you know, it's in
I have no.
Because you're
You
moving
know,
to me.
I have no. interest in
yeah,
leaving.
but it's I mean, listen, I can't think about those things, about, what the future, all I can do is try to make the best future I can for the people around me. And that's what I'm trying to do with this expansion and everything else, is get to a point where we're profitable enough in a successful enough business so that people can afford to live the life they need to live with the wages and benefits I can give them. That's what I'm trying to do with my future here. It's like, I'm not just trying to make a future for me. I'm trying to make a future for all the people I have. I don't want to be in that, my business till 8 years ago was a revolving door. I knew when someone worked for me, they were going to work for me for 2 or 3 years and then they were going to move on. Yeah. Now I'm trying to make it the other way, where people are going to work for me for the rest of their life, and that's
and I'm here for a long time.
Yeah, and that's something that Lori and I talk about all the time. Like, how do we continue to make it a better place to work, better wages, better this, better that, and that's what we're trying to get to, is to the point where all of that makes sense.
Well, because at the end of the day, it's almost nearly impossible to find a Bruce.
Yeah.
It's impossible to find a Steven. And I feel like, I mean, I can't speak for Bruce, but I can speak for Steven. And I feel like Steven knows he's in a position that God put him in that place, dude. Like, he's a scrub house. Steven Cush is a scrub king.
Oh my God. Like, seeing that scrub
Brian, I know how you may feel about that word
amazing.
king, but Steven Cush is a scrub king.
Absolute scrub king.
If you ever want scrubs,
Absolute.
Yeah.
This motherfucker has the biggest scrub collection.
The holy and powerful
he's on
scrub
he
king.
has
Like,
17 scrub pairings at this point
right now.
Right
Going
now.
down.
So I'm just saying, he's on a mission. Like, he's on a mission. But yet, stars align for Steven to be at Reptile. Stars align for fucking Bruce to be here.
Yeah.
I don't see no other way.
Yeah,
I don't.
No, I don't disagree with you 1,000%. I agree with you on those things. So it's yeah, I mean, it's I think there's always destiny, and I think that people come and go into your life, and when someone goes, you might feel it being terrible situation.
But what about when people come and go, and you found that person that needs to stay? What are you doing? What are you doing for that person to stay?
Well, that's why I'm saying that's why we're trying to create that environment so that people can stay. That's the whole idea.
Do you feel like people should invest more into the ones that are worthy of being in charge of a collection? Because I can tell you what, there's a lot of people who lose certain keepers because they're not getting paid enough.
Yeah.
And that's because it's hard to pay someone a good amount of money on a salary where you're just a reptile breeder.
Right. Well, so that's the thing. I mean, that's where we have to get to, right? We have to get to where we're at least equal, if not better than what they would make at a zoo. Right.
But not even zoo people make shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the guy who's a
right. No, but that's the thing,
Yeah, no,
MJ.
I know.
It's like,
they make barely less than 17.
But God bless him. The reason why I protect that guy is because how much money he makes.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
fucked up.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. But it's complicated as a business owner, right? Because you may see like, oh my gosh, you're putting X amount of people through the door, you're doing this. But I just did a video the other day, that explains it cost me $6,500 a week to feed my animals.
Jesus.
$6,500 a week to feed my animals. That's not my electricity. That's not the building cost. That's not my employees' bills. That's not bedding. That's not water. That's not heat. That's not utilities. That's to feed my animals. So the one thing I can't do as a responsible business owner is have my expenses exceed my income, right? Because then no one has a job, right? So that and that's why you try to create a business that becomes more profitable, because the more profitable it becomes, then you can pay people to keep them and so on like that. You see what I'm saying? So, but you can't pay before you make,
So if that's the case, like, when are you ready to hire somebody?
Well, I'm ready to hire someone so this is the other thing as a business owner. This is what you have to understand, is that in some way, shape or form, every employee you employ has to make you money. So if you have an employee that is losing you money, then that employee should not be with you anymore.
Should be
right?
gone.
Right. So if an employee is literally a negative to your income, then that's not employee, right?
Right.
So whatever that means, and some employees aren't going to have a direct income because they're let's say, for instance, the girl Alyssa that takes care of my baby ball pythons. She's not making me any money, but she's keeping my baby ball pythons alive, which makes me money, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like if she does her job right, we keep our ball pythons alive and we make money. She does her job wrong, we lose ball pythons, we make less money. Now she needs to go.
But you had to be in a position where there was somebody making you enough money where you should have paid them more.
Oh, absolutely.
And like, how do you work that out? Like, how do you determine that?
You learn from that lesson and you try to do better next time.
Right.
So I actually want to interject on that. So largely me and Jessica ourselves, when it comes to working with Brian and Lori, our larger motivation was the harder you worked, the better you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always been that. So what's
crazy is like the harder you work, not only do you get paid, but the more you learn.
Right. And absolutely, the more experience you get.
Right.
So like, but with Brian, and Brian's heard me say it 100 times now, especially now with new folks coming in. It's that our main focus is to make his life easier, to make Lori's life easier. Simply put. Now there's more complications to that, of course, right. But simply put, that's our job. You guys have hired us to make sure you don't have to worry about this.
Bruce,
whatever it is.
I want to know. Who hired this doll?
I'm
so sorry.
No, did you see the beard? Look at the beard on that bad boy. Look at that beard on that bad boy.
Who hired this
Look
doll?
at this. Look at this. It doesn't even look like it anymore.
I know. That was that was from a while ago.
Dude, it was not creepy, beautiful.
I had
just absolutely.
I mean,
beautiful.
the fact that somebody made a doll of you.
Let roses burn.
Dude, she's awesome.
She's out of Florida.
Out of Florida?
And one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, I guarantee it.
So
don't worry. I'll fix it. Don't worry about it. Just like lean
it
it
up. RJ, it's RJ. Look, it's kind of
look at the whiskers on that thing. Hey, you do look like a solid 23 though.
I know. That was
Dude,
yeah.
Oh man, look at him. Dude, he's a full Ken.
MJ,
he's a full Ken.
I've got a appointment at the Death Museum that I have to hit to.
Okay, all right, let's wrap this up. Hold on. Okay, so wrap up question for Brian before he goes to the fucking Death Museum. Weird.
Yeah.
You don't want to go?
Anybody looking to get it
going?
In all realness, are you done, Matt? Anybody looking to get into any animal game profit wise, right? Mm-hmm. And not to say you can't make profit in anything, but let's just say profit is on the mindset. Yeah. What should be something really on the agenda behind that? Like if it's no matter if it's monitors, geckos, snakes, whatever.
So I think two things. One is that never chase a project, right? So don't chase things that are out of reach. Stay within your means and stuff like that. The second thing is work with something that you're going to be passionate about. If you don't work with ball pythons, because ball pythons make you money and you don't care about ball pythons, you know what I mean? Like work with the things that you want to work with, and you will be successful. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to matter when you're fired up and being like, oh my God, I it's Monday and I get to work with my animals. What's going to matter is Friday night when your friends are like, hey, we're going to hang out and something like that. And your decision is, I've got to stay home and work with my animals or go out with my friends and fuck off. You know what I mean? The point is that if you're passionate about it and you love, if you're like, I don't really even care about ball pythons, I'm going out to hang with my friends. But if you're like, my gosh, I love those Bell's face lace monitors, or I love those scrub pythons, or I love whatever.
Your whole life, other than fucking what peak call days is staying with the animals and working.
Right. That's it, exactly.
The only rage days you have were the reptile days.
Yeah,
were
exactly.
the shows.
Yeah, shows. That's it. And I never even one or two times I partied at shows in my entire life.
And then once you did it, you got in trouble with Lori.
Trampoline,
naked. I know the story.
So, but yeah, no, I think that's my advice is always to work with what you really want to work with. Don't work with things that you think are just going to make you money. And number two, just don't chase, man. People make the mistake.
But in general, right? Don't chase. Like even in friendships, like even if there's somebody you like Miguel, don't chase that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Kidding me?
Miguel's the best.
I still love you, Miguel.
No, but he'll say yes to you.
But I'll follow you to the ends of the world,
Miguel. Miguel will make it seem like you're cool, but you're not.
Yeah. This is what
they keep calling me Big Dog, and I think I'm a big dog.
So the thing is with Miguel is I'll sum Miguel up perfectly. He's a very unique individual, and I love Miguel, by the way. He's one of my dearest friends. But Miguel's the guy that will make you feel like the most important person in the world when you're with him, and when you're not with him, he doesn't even remember who you are. right? You know what I mean? Like that's who it is.
What do you mean you're at the airport? Can't pick you up.
Yeah.
No, I'll
Bro,
send
he
a
left-
message
he left
3
Jessica
months
Belka.
later.
He left Jessica Belka, right? We were talking about JKR.
No
right?
shit, really?
He left him hanging at the airport twice.
Oh my god.
No shit.
Twice. I'm just trying to do that once. He did it twice.
Man, he is
Imagine.
he's on a thug level. Like,
But
he's on
that's
a straight
just
thug
Miguel,
level.
you know. I
That's
mean,
Miguel. He don't
when
give a
when he's with you, you are the most.
You're number
important.
one.
You're the most important person. So if
He's
you ever
really
get a
amazing
chance to
guy.
spend time with them, you are going to be wined and dined.
But
you know?
also good
You'll
luck.
love him.
Also good luck because I'm
Yeah.
trying to spend time with him. And you
Oh
come
man,
before me.
come back up to Michigan,
Okay.
guy.
Listen, hot seat questions coming up hot for the Reptarian pair. You guys got to say these answers at the same time. Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, here we
All
go.
right.
Hot seat questions for Brian and Bruce. Coming in hot. Frozen thought or live?
Frozen thought.
Live.
You got to be quicker, Bruce. I feel like you're relying on him too much.
Yeah.
Okay. A cutter or no cutter?
No
Egg
cutter.
Okay. Red chondro neo or yellow chondro neo?
Neochondro.
Red.
Okay. What does that mean?
You said red. You said neochondro.
You said,
said
you said, it said
neocon-
red or yellow.
And
You
he said
neo.
neochondro.
Yeah.
I thought you said neochondro.
No, Bruce, you're hammered.
Yeah.
Is it red or
I
yellow?
really can't
Red.
hear you.
Red.
Red or yellow?
Red.
Red?
Yellow. Cyclops.
Why yellow? Tell me that, Bruce. Exactly. You're drunk. All right. I'm just kidding. Okay. Bruce, that was a joke.
What am I feeling?
Pre first shed meal or post first shed meal?
Post first shed.
Goddamn post for shed, man.
All right. Yay imports or boo imports?
Boo imports.
Wow. One import you would import right now.
One import I wouldn't import right now.
No, you would. That you would. One
I would.
reptile that you would bring in right now if you could.
Komodo dragon.
Bruce?
Branty.
One reptile you would never import again if you couldn't.
Dragon snake.
Sulcata.
Baseball or football?
Football.
Baseball.
Favorite football team?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Favorite baseball team?
Man, Braves.
Yay alcohol or boo alcohol?
Boo.
Oh, yay. Come on.
Favorite alcohol drink?
200 beer.
Weird. Favorite non-alcohol drink?
Water flavored with tea.
Big flexor or no flexor?
Big flex, bro. Come on.
No flex.
That's bullshit! Lawyer!
All the flex.
He's
all
a
the flex.
flexor! I'm just
All
saying.
the flex.
You can say what you want. Steak or fish?
Steak.
Steak all the way.
Favorite cut of steak?
Honestly, I like lean sirloin.
Prepared how?
Medium rare.
Tomahawk rare.
Oh my god, man. Good man.
Oh, God, dude. I'll finish with
Van
that.
Halen or Sammy Hagar?
All Van Halen.
Van Halen, 100%.
Nirvana or Green Day?
Oh, that's a tough
Nirvana.
one.
Nirvana all day.
I do like Green Day though.
AC/DC or Slayer?
Slayer.
Yeah.
Fucking love it. A little word. Oh, hold on. West Coast rap or East Coast rap?
West Coast.
East Coast.
Favorite West Coast rapper?
Snoop.
Favorite non-East Coast rapper?
Favorite non-East Coast rapper? Wait.
Who was a dick to you?
What's your favorite West Coast rapper?
What's that now?
Who's the biggest dickhead East Coast rapper?
Eminem. Eminem.
I was about to say Easy.
Fuck, Eminem's a dick.
I was about to say Easy, but you're right.
Little word association. First thing to come to mind: milk.
Tits.
Chocolate.
I fucking love pride. Substrate.
Tits.
Reptile Prime.
Ovulation.
Tits.
Also tits. Also tits.
Day 60.
Egg
Tits. God damn you, Brian. Tits.
Instagram trolls.
Tits.
laying. Oh, Instagram trolls. Haters.
Tinder profiles.
Never been there.
If you had to get rid of one platform and wait, hold on. What do you have to say about Tinder profiles?
I've never been on Tinder.
You're very familiar. I'm just kidding. If you had to get rid of one platform forever, and I mean forever, is it going to be TikTok or YouTube?
TikTok.
YouTube.
Fuck yeah. Hey, gentlemen, what an amazing episode. I appreciate you two so much. And guess what? I'm not the only one. We had well over 100 people in this bitch. What is that? 141 likes.
Yeah,
Thank you,
baby.
guys.
Major, what do you guys have to say to all your supporters, everyone who's been at the Reptarium, everyone who believes in what you guys are doing? What do you have to say to them?
I know it's not really for me. It's for this guy right here. This is the dog right here. This is my boy right here, and I love him to death. And I couldn't say any more better things about him. I know he can say it for himself.
Yeah,
He's an awesome guy, man. Like,
well,
he's my mentor and my fucking guy.
Yeah. Well, all I ever have to say is I'm not where I am today without each one of the people that support me. So every ounce of success I have has 100% to do with every single person that supports me. So thank you.
I love you too, Brian.
Honestly, I love you too, Bruce. I love you too, Matt. I love you too to the family out there in the waiting room waiting for
Yeah,
Brian.
those are-
Every
I
single
love
one of you guys.
anybody out there influenced by this guy, Brian, because guess what? We're on the same team.
Dude, hell yeah.
Thanks, man.
We're all
Brian, all I got to say,
we're
bro,
all
is
here.
like, listen, as much as it makes me sad that your schedule is nonstop every time I see you,
Yeah.
I know that it's good
It's
because
good.
it's making you happy.
It does.
And you make me happy, man.
Well, thanks,
and
brother.
I gotta say, like the fact that I'm at your round table for the second time on my show,
That's awesome.
what a fucking dream.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
thank you, Brian, for not only believing in me, but believing into the industry. I feel like regardless of who your friends are, if you had everybody against you, you would still be doing what you're doing
Oh, 100%.
because
I
it's
did.
the bigger picture.
I did.
Yeah.
For a long time.
And
it
you're
felt
doing,
like
you're doing.
a long time it felt like everyone was against
Right.
me, and I never stopped. So I won't stop no matter what.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop, guys. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and drop that super chat because every super chat gets donated to US Arc. Unless Brian says I could sponsor something, then it's going there. Motherfuckers, send that shit now. I want Bugatti's cage. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
And visit the Reptarium. Motherfuckers, period. I'm out.
See you guys. Thanks.